Chapter 151. Boom boom boom. Remy knocked politely and walked into the principal's office. He was a little confused and had no idea what he would face next. In the office, only Headmaster Dumbledore was standing at the window with his back to him. Even Fawkes had disappeared. This atmosphere made Remy feel a little uncomfortable. "Principal, what do you want to talk to me about?" Remy asked. "Have you seen the news about Sirius Black, the prisoner of Azkaban, escaping from prison?" Headmaster Dumbledore asked without turning his head. "Yes, I saw it in the newspaper." "What's wrong?" Remy asked. "What do you think?" Dumbledore asked. "Of course I saw it with my eyes." Remy silently complained and thought about it. "How can I see it? It has nothing to do with me," Remy said. "Are you sure it's okay?" Principal Dumbledore turned around and looked at Remy seriously. "Minister Fudge of the Ministry of Magic told me that your Dementor brother provided great convenience to Black in Azkaban, and may even have directly participated in Black's escape." "Oh, I thought it was something else and it scared me." Remy, who was startled by Dumbledore's sudden turn, rolled his eyes and felt relieved. "That's true. I mean the first thing." Remy corrected his wording and said, "I did let them give Black some convenience in Azkaban, but I didn't let them help Black escape. They are very obedient. How could they help Black escape when they refused to help me escape?" "Admit it. Is it so easy to admit it?" Dumbledore was stunned for a moment, and for a moment he couldn't believe it. When did Remy confess so easily? Didn't he always confess after making up a lot of nonsense? "Why would you do this? Do you know what crime he has committed?" Dumbledore asked. "What crime did he commit?" "He's just a wrongly accused person. Isn't it hard to understand that we should help him if we can?" Remy asked. "Oh." Dumbledore frowned. "How can you be sure that he was wrongly accused? Did he tell you that? Or, did you see it?" "Oh, Headmaster Dumbledore, remember what I said before about knowing the power of prophecy? That's much easier. From what I saw, Black was wrongly accused. The person who actually betrayed Harry's parents was Peter Pettigrew," Remy said. "Peter Pettigrew? Isn't he dead?" "Is he still alive?" asked Headmaster Dumbledore. "That's not good. He's alive and well. How about I take you to see him?" Remy asked. Dumbledore's eyes widened instantly and he walked over to the window. "Do you know where he is?" "Yes, and it's very convenient to find him. He is in Hogwarts, and has lived there for several years." "Right at Hogwarts? And lived there for several years?" Dumbledore was completely stunned. If he could accept the fact that Black was wrongly accused, then he really couldn't imagine that Pettigrew had been in Hogwarts for several years. Black had been arrested and imprisoned for so many years and had never confessed. Dumbledore actually thought that he was wronged, but due to the lack of evidence, he could only watch Black continue to stay in Azkaban. But now, Remy actually said that the real traitor, the evidence, was in Hogwarts and had been living under his nose for several years. How can I describe this? It's unbelievable. "Where is he?" Dumbledore asked solemnly. "In the Gryffindor dormitory, to be exact, the same dormitory as Harry," Remy said. "I blanch. In the same dorm with Harry?" Headmaster Dumbledore's eyes widened instantly, and he appeared beside Remy and grabbed Remy's arm without saying a word. The next moment, the two figures appeared in front of Grindelwald, scaring Grindelwald, who was about to drink tea, and he almost dropped the cup. "What are you two doing? Why didn't you say hello?" Grindelwald asked helplessly. "I don't know, I was brought here by force." Remy pointed at Headmaster Dumbledore. "Stop talking nonsense, Remy. Just to be clear, is Pettigrew really in Harry's dormitory right now?" Dumbledore asked. Remy nodded. "Yes, it's the big rat that Ronald raised." "Big rat? Animagus. Damn it. I should have thought of it earlier. They all have animagus." "Yes, that's right. Pettigrew must have escaped through the animagus. It seems that he has been showing himself as an animagus all these years. No wonder no one has ever seen him and everyone thought he was dead." Dumbledore paced back and forth while muttering to himself, causing Grindelwald's eyes to spin in circles. "What are you talking about, Albus? And why did you come to my place? If you wanted to tell me a story, you should have told it logically. I can't understand you at all because of your incoherent talk." Grindelwald complained. "We'll tell you the story later. Now come with me to catch Pettigrew, a wizard who uses animagus to transform into a mouse. Do you understand? Dumbledore asked, while reaching out to grab Grindelwald with one hand and Remy with the other. Within the confines of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, he is the only one who has the ability to apparate, no one else can, except for non-human house elves. I think I understand. Grindelwald nodded. Following Grindelwald's nod, Headmaster Dumbledore quickly apparat the two of them to the Gryffindor common room where Remy had not returned for a long time. Everything was so familiar, even the broken piece of leather on the sofa on the far left had not been repaired yet. Still the familiar recipe, familiar taste. Gellert, once you enter, you must seal off the entire dormitory to prevent him from escaping. We must catch him alive. Dumbledore said as he drew out his wand. He had already taken out his wand before he reached the door, and Grindelwald immediately realized that Dumbledore was serious this time. Nodding vigorously, Grindelwald touched the gloves on his hands, ready to take action at any time. But at the same time, he was somewhat confused. Why bring Remy here? Remy won't be of much help in arresting people, right? Grindelwald asked. Remy was stunned when he heard Grindelwald's question. Oh, right, we're just catching Pettigrew, why bring him along? He neither knows how to catch people nor how to cooperate. Principal Dumbledore, what kind of work do you want to assign me? Remy asked puzzledly. Dumbledore was stunned for a moment. Oh, I was so anxious just now that I forgot. But it doesn't matter, since you are here, you can be a shield for me and Gellert later. Remy. Blanche. Chapter 152. Who sweetly taught you to arrange work for me like this? Why should I be a shield? Although I am indeed a tanky-dandy, just like every mage has a melee heart, I also want to be a DPS. If that doesn't work, you can just be an assistant. Complaining inwardly, Remy followed the two to the familiar door of the dormitory. 3, 2, 1. As Dumbledore's countdown with gestures ended, he waved his wand and blew the dormitory door into flying dust. Grindelwald followed closely and waved his hand to release a large blue flame that instantly sealed off the entire dormitory. From the walls to the windows, from the floor to the ceiling, every inch of space was burning with strange blue flames, forming a dragnet that was impossible to escape from. The four people who were playing around in the dormitory had never seen such a scene before. They were so frightened that their brains froze and they stood there in a daze. Happy new school year, keep playing music and dancing. Remy walked through the flames at the door and into the dormitory and said, but no one paid any attention to him as their brains had not yet been successfully restarted. Noticing that Remy walked to the position between the mouse cage and the four people after entering the dormitory, Dumbledore nodded secretly, thinking that this guy was still quite reliable at the critical moment. Is this the rat? Grindelwald asked, a strange light flashing in his eyes. Indeed, it is quite good, mouse. Several young wizards also came to their senses at this time, and they looked at the mouse cage together with Grindelwald, Dumbledore, and Remy, especially Ronald. Principal Dumbledore, Professor Green, what are you doing? Ronald asked, did Scabbers bite something important? Why did you all come here in person? Neither Dumbledore nor Grindelwald answered, their eyes remained focused on the rat Scabbers. Remy, Remy. Harry tugged at Remy's clothes. What happened? What did Headmaster Dumbledore and Professor Green want to do with Scabbers? It's nothing, don't worry, just watch from a distance. You can step on the fire on the ground, it's okay. Remy said with a smile and glanced at Ronald meaningfully, which made Ronald feel uncomfortable. He seemed to want to say something else, but was pulled aside by Harry and Seamus. They stood far away as Remy had said, and Seamus' attention was even attracted by the flames on the ground. What? Are you going to continue pretending? Dumbledore asked. Banban lay motionless in the cage, as if he were dead. But this level of pretending to be dead could not fool Dumbledore and Grindelwald. Grindelwald snorted coldly and was about to raise his hand, but suddenly he noticed a ball of blue flame that detached from the ceiling and floated towards the mouse cage. Glancing at Remy, Grindelwald raised the corners of his mouth slightly in a relieved smile. He is very satisfied with this student. Remy. What are you doing, Em? Covering Ronald's mouth, Harry and Seamus pulled Ronald hard. Ronald. Calm down. Headmaster Dumbledore is here, there must be something wrong with your Scabbers, said Harry. That's right. Maybe it's not the same Scabbers anymore, so don't mess with it now, said Seamus. While they were talking, Remy had already controlled the flames to come to the mouse cage, and then the flames flowed into the cage like water and enveloped Banban's body. Banban remained motionless, as if he had made up his mind to play dead to the end. Seeing how persistent he was, Remy grinned dangerously. Bang! With the sound of a finger snap, the flame in the cage exploded, and at the same time a shrill voice came from the flame. "Aye!" Along with screams, a fat figure broke through the cage and fell to the ground, rolling over and wailing. "Ah! Headmaster Dumbledore! Headmaster! It's me! Stop it! Great Headmaster Dumbledore, put out the fire for me! Merciful Headmaster Dumbledore! Please, please! My dear Headmaster Dumbledore! Don't you recognize me? I am your student!" Ah! He rolled back and forth on the ground, and the strange thing was that the flames on his body did not decrease at all, but they did not increase either, and the flames on the ground did not spread towards him. Only the flames on his body were burning him. "Remy, stop it, don't burn him to death," Dumbledore said. "Yes, great, kind, generous Headmaster Dumbledore," Remy said, controlling the flames to slowly die out. Later, seeing the living person suddenly appear, the 5 people were all dumbfounded, especially Ronald. Although he did not see how this person appeared, Ronald had a bold guess. This bold guess made him very excited. His heart was beating violently with excitement, and the hot blood rushed to his brain, making him almost faint. "Peter Pettigrew, it's you!" Dumbledore said as he looked at Pettigrew, who was trembling as he got up from the ground. Pettigrew trembled all over, his eyes moving around in panic, and suddenly, his eyes lit up. "Principal Dumbledore! I have always been protecting Harry Potter," Pettigrew said. "You must have misunderstood. I have endured humiliation for so many years just to protect James and Lily's child in secret. I didn't mean to hide it from you. It's just that after what happened that year, I dare not trust anyone anymore. I did it all to protect him." "To protect me? This guy named Pettigrew knows my parents. Are you a friend of my parents?" Harry asked excitedly, and even couldn't help but take 2 steps forward. If Neville hadn't grabbed him, he might not have taken more than 2 steps forward. "Oh my dear Harry!" Pettigrew turned around, tilted his head and opened his arms as if for a hug. However, before he could take 2 steps, a black muzzle of a gun blocked his way. "Stand back, put your hands on your head, and squat down," Remy said, shaking the revolver in his hand. Pettigrew was shocked. Having lived in the same dormitory with Remy for a year, he certainly knew what Remy had in his hand. He also knew how tough Remy was. At that moment, without any hesitation, he immediately took 2 steps back and squatted down with his head in his hands. "Remy! Calm down! He's my parents' friend!" Harry shouted anxiously. Remy rolled his eyes, thinking that Harry had wasted the past 2 years, as he was still so uncalm when it came to matters concerning his parents and Voldemort. "Yes, that's right, Harry, I'm your parents' friend, the best, Just as Pettigrew was about to stand up and continue playing the emotional card, he felt a chill on his forehead and quickly shut his mouth, not daring to say another word. Chapter 153. This naughty kid is still the same boy as before, without any change. Time is just a test, the faith planted in our hearts has not diminished in the slightest. He still pulled out his gun when he disagreed with something, and was even more rampant than before. He even threatened others with a gun in front of him, the principal. But there are some things that are really inconvenient for him to do with his identity, so it's good for Remy to make a fuss like this. Dumbledore sighed helplessly and turned away. Out of sight, out of mind. As long as I close my eyes, the world does not exist. This is the idealism that is essential to the magical world. Mr. and Mrs. Potter are so unlucky to have a friend like you. Tell me in detail why you betrayed Mr. and Mrs. Potter in the first place. Remy asked casually. This casualness came from the fact that Remy didn't expect Pettigrew to tell the truth at all, and Pettigrew did not disappoint Remy's trust. Betrayal? How is that possible? Pettigrew raised his head sharply and stared at Harry, who was stunned. I didn't betray your parents. It was Black. He was the traitor. I was seriously injured at the time but managed to escape. When I recovered a little, I wanted to find him to avenge your parents, but he had already been imprisoned in Azkaban by then. Then I heard that you were still alive. Oh, it was really Merlin's miracle. You are still alive. Do you know how happy I was when I heard the news? I heard that you were taken away by Headmaster Dumbledore. I believed he could protect you. At that time, I also heard that the outside world thought I was dead, so I decided to hide and secretly investigate other Death Eaters and protect you. I know that as James' child, you will become an excellent wizard. Sooner or later, you will enter Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. I have been waiting for you. Peter Pettigrew spoke very quickly, but every word was full of sincere emotion, and his voice and emotion made Harry believe him again. However, his words could only fool Harry, who was too concerned, but not even Ronald. Ronald didn't even listen at all. He was always immersed in his own world and playing tricks. Yawn, that's a fascinating story. Remy yawned and then clapped his hands 3 times expressionlessly. But have you been a mouse for so long that you've forgotten that there is such a thing as truth serum in this world? Professor Snape has brewed several pots of truth serum before. Little mouse, you're in for a treat. Truth serum? Peter Pettigrew was stunned at first, then his face changed drastically. He indeed forgot. As his expression kept changing, Harry's expression kept changing too. His fists were clenched tightly, and his teeth were clenched tightly. Now he didn't know who to believe, but he had to find out the truth. So when Pettigrew cried and begged Harry to believe him not to give him Verita serum, even though his excuse was that Verita serum might cause dementia, Harry still did not speak for him. Just when Pettigrew was in despair and didn't know what to do, a straw appeared in front of him. Harry, what if what he said is true and he became an idiot after drinking Verita serum? Dumbledore asked. Headmaster Dumbledore is speaking for me. Pettigrew was stunned. Without having time to think about the reason, Peter Pettigrew quickly grabbed this life-saving straw. He opened his watery eyes and looked at Harry with a pleading and desolate look. Harry, I have been living as a mouse for so many years just to protect you. Can you bear to watch me become an idiot? At this moment, everyone looked at Harry. Harry's face was very pale, even his lips were slightly pale. If anything unexpected happens, I will take care of you from now on. Harry said, gritting his teeth. Hearing Harry's words, Peter Pettigrew's eyes widened and he was about to say something, but Remy's gun muzzle approached him again, so he didn't dare to say even one more word. Holding Peter Pettigrew at bay with his gun, Remy glanced at Dumbledore. Not sure if it was an illusion, but Remy felt that Dumbledore didn't look very happy at the moment, and his eyes revealed an unprecedented solemnity. Following Dumbledore's gaze, Remy realized immediately when he realized that Dumbledore's serious expression was directed at Harry. It must be because of Harry's attitude. Don't advise others to be kind without first experiencing their suffering. Remy said, Principal Dumbledore, some people's desire for something is something that people like you and me will never understand, and we have no right to comment on it. Headmaster Dumbledore was stunned for a moment, and looked at Remy with an incredible look in his eyes, as if he had never expected that a good student like Remy could say such philosophical words. Well, you are right. Besides, there are suspicious points everywhere about this guy, so we have to interrogate him thoroughly no matter what. In comparison, truth serum is already the best way of interrogation. Headmaster Dumbledore pushed his glasses and nodded to Grindelwald, who had been watching the fun next to him. Grindelwald nodded and pointed, and Peter Pettigrew's whole body stiffened and he fell to the ground with a thud. Sorry kids, I scared you. You can continue playing, but don't play too late. Remember to go to bed early. Dumbledore said with a smile. To be fair, Headmaster Dumbledore's smile at this moment was still very warm and contagious, but the situation was really not relaxing. Principal Dumbledore, are you going to interrogate him? I want to go with you, said Harry. It's too late. Dumbledore shook his head and said, and this is not just about your parents. There are many things involved with him. But he claims to be a friend of my parents after all. I think I should have the right to listen to your interrogation of him. Harry said without giving in, and even took 2 steps forward. This time, no one pulled him back. It was unclear whether the others thought what he said made sense or simply didn't have time. Since he wants to sit in, let him sit in. It's not a big deal, said Grindelwald. Hearing Grindelwald say the same thing, Dumbledore hesitated for a moment and then nodded. With a shake of his hand and a wave of his wand, Pettigrew on the ground floated into the air and was the first to go out. He was in Dumbledore's sight the whole time, leaving him no chance of a comeback. Harry took a deep breath and hurried to catch up. Remy! Shouting, Grindelwald pointed to the flames around him. Understood. Leave it to me. After watching Grindelwald leave, Remy stretched out his hand and sucked the flames all over the dormitory into his hand like a whale sucking water, gathering them into a small fireball. With the fireball, Remy just walked to the door and suddenly thought of something. He turned around and looked at Ronald, who was still immersed in his own world, and woke him up. Ronald. Ah. You know Animagus, right? Have you ever cuddled that Animagus rat to sleep? Have you ever kissed him? Ugh. Ugh. Chapter 154. Peter Pettigrew is taken to a detention room, which is fully equipped with props. After securing him firmly to the white stool, Grindelwald removed the magic cast on him, while Headmaster Dumbledore also called in Professor Snape. As soon as he entered the room, Professor Snape's pupils shrank suddenly when he saw the person sitting on the stool. Before, I had always believed that a certain guy who always refused to plead guilty committed a crime, but now that I have met you, it seems that there may be another story behind that incident. Snape said in a cold tone, without any fluctuation in his voice, and the tone had almost no ups and downs throughout the whole process. This way of speaking immediately frightened Peter Pettigrew. He knew Snape very well. Back then, he had joined James and the others in bullying Snape at school. How could he still get away with it when they met again in this kind of situation? At that moment, Pettigrew became scared, especially when he saw Snape sneer and take out a large bottle of unknown liquid from his pocket. Headmaster Dumbledore, I'll tell you. I'll tell you everything. I am the traitor. It was me who betrayed James Potter. What? Was this person really the one who betrayed my parents back then? Harry's eyes turned red instantly and he clenched his fists and was about to rush forward. However, someone is faster than him. But I have no choice. I also have my own difficulties. Back then, Snape. Dumbledore shouted hurriedly as he saw Snape suddenly rushing forward and grabbing Peter Pettigrew's neck. He can't die yet. I still have some questions to ask him. Dumbledore said while pressing Harry's shoulders, and Harry, calm down too. Both of them lowered their heads and said nothing. Just then, a series of thudding sounds attracted the attention of several people. What are you doing? Are you preparing to feed him medicine? Remy walked in and said, Professor Snape, you can't do it, right? If you can't do it, I'll do it, and I'll feed you some, as a way of repaying your kindness in feeding me medicine before snort. With a cold snort, Snape loosened his grip on Peter Pettigrew's neck and instead pinched his chin, then raised the bottle in his other hand. Before I had the chance to thank Mr. Barrett for his help, I have developed a more effective truth serum with fewer side effects. As if explaining, Professor Snape waited for 2 seconds after he finished speaking, and when he saw that no one else reacted, he opened the bottle cap and poured the truth serum into Peter Pettigrew's mouth. Peter Pettigrew's eyes widened immediately and he struggled with all his strength. However, no matter how he struggled, he could not shake Snape's big hand that was as tight as a clamp. Cough cough cough. Gurgle gurgle. After pouring a whole bottle of Verita serum into Peter Pettigrew's stomach in one breath, Professor Snape let go of his hand and took 2 steps back. Tell me, who was the traitor who betrayed Lily back then? Snape asked. It was me, Peter Pettigrew. It was me who betrayed Lily Potter. Pettigrew said with a dull look in his eyes. Some of the truth serum that was not swallowed slowly flowed out of his mouth as he spoke, but Professor Snape, who always cherished potions, didn't even look at the wasted potion. He lowered his head and remained silent for a long time. Finally, he let out a long sigh and turned away. Principal Dumbledore, can you hand him over to me after the interrogation? I need someone to help me test the effects of new drugs. Don't worry, he won't die. Professor Snape suddenly stopped and said, or you can ask Mr. Barrett to help me test the drugs. Those new drugs were developed with the help of Mr. Barrett. Blanche? You have a rage in your belly that you want to vent, so why drag me into this? You should vent your anger on the culprit, Peter Pettigrew. Extending his hand in the international friendly gesture towards Professor Snape, Remy patted Harry on the shoulder. If I were you, I would definitely give him a good full-body massage later. Madame Pomfrey is a very good doctor. Remy said. Remy. Giving Remy a glare to signal him not to cause trouble at this time, Dumbledore turned around and nodded to Professor Snape. Let him make perhaps his only contribution to the wizarding world before he goes to Azkaban. I think he would definitely agree even if he was more sober now, said Dumbledore. Thank you. Professor Snape said thank you in a whisper and quickly left the room. Dumbledore looked at Remy and then at Harry. You two should get out too. What I am going to ask you next is not something you, as students, should know now. What? Are you going to ask him about whether there is any reproductive isolation between animagus and real female mice after they transform into mice? Remy asked. Cool, jerking his arm up and pointing a finger toward the door, Headmaster Dumbledore uttered a word through gritted teeth. Roll. Okay, I'm still a child, so I won't eavesdrop on the answers to such explosive questions. She left obediently, but not far away, as Remy stood at the door, leaning against the wall, waiting quietly. After a while, Harry also came out and closed the door of the detention room after he came out. He walked forward silently with his head down, seemingly not noticing Remy at all. The past cannot be changed, but the future can be changed, said Remy. Hey? Oh, Remy, sorry, what did you say? Harry asked. I said, the past cannot be changed, but the future can be changed, said Remy. Harry thought for a moment and frowned. What do you mean? Please, don't ask me to guess riddles at this time. My mind is very confused now. Very confused. Okay, then I'll be frank. Remy smoothed his hair and stood up straight. Since the real traitor has been found, then the person who was wrongly imprisoned for more than 10 years and now escaped from prison, don't you plan to find him? He is a true friend of your parents. Oh. Yes. I almost forgot about him. Harry slapped his forehead hard, very loudly. So what should I do? Do you have any clues? Harry asked. That's your business. I just want to tell you that instead of focusing all your attention on the real murderer who has been caught and causing your brain to become confused, it is better to use your time and energy to find that person. Remy said. You're right, I get it, I will find him. Find him before the Ministry of Magic, said Harry. Smart. With a flick of his hair, Remy threw his arm around Harry's shoulders and suddenly let out an eerie laugh. He, from today on, the mouse Banban will have to leave Ronald's arms forever. In a sense, today should be Banban's death anniversary, right? Do you think we should go to the kitchen and order a cake of the same style as Banban's to comfort Ronald? Isn't this not good? Although he said these words hesitantly, the corners of Harry's mouth slightly raised uncontrollably, as if he was thinking of something happy. Chapter 155. Action speaks louder than words. Seeing that Harry was already moved, Remy immediately took Harry to put the idea into action. Reluctantly, Harry followed Remy to the kitchen to ask the omnipotent house elf to order a cake of the same style and even the same size as Banban's. During the ordering process, Harry played a crucial role. He had a better understanding of Banban's appearance. When Remy and Harry returned to the dormitory with the cake, the door that was originally destroyed by Headmaster Dumbledore had been replaced with a new one by the omnipotent house elf. It was said that the original one was too damaged to be repaired. Ronald had gone to bed, but was not asleep. When Remy and Harry placed the same cake as Banban in front of Ronald, who looked pale as if he was terminally ill, Ronald jumped up from the bed excitedly. Not only did his face instantly become rosy again, but it even had a faint red glow and even his eyes were red. Combined with his red hair, Remy boldly deduced that Ronald must have awakened the ancient magical bloodline of the Weasley family, the blood of the Berserker, due to his emotional excitement. Maybe this bloodline has some side effects common to the Berserker series bloodlines. Ronald, who has awakened his bloodline, hugged Remy and patted Remy's back with emotion. He was not gentle enough and triggered the automatic defense mechanism of the magic treasure. If he had used less force, Remy might have been hurt, but after activating the magic treasure's automatic defense mechanism, Remy didn't feel anything. This touched Remy a little, and he thought Ronald was really a good friend, as he didn't forget to consider him even when he was so upset. But then I thought, he is quite a friend himself, and he even sent a cake to Ronald. Thank you so sweetly, Remy. Ronald said with red eyes after he calmed down a little. You're welcome. This is what I should do. Remy shook her hair. Do you want to eat Banban's head or Banban's tail first? Eat your uncle, Puff. Ronald picked up the cake and smashed it on Remy's head, and his mood finally eased a little. However. Okay, I'll go find Peter Pettigrew to claim my brother later. My dad will probably be very happy to find a brother from the wizarding world. Remy said calmly. Ronald's anger instantly reached its maximum. He roared loudly, shut up. Don't mention that thing in front of me again. Seeing that Ronald was really about to explode, Harry quickly covered Remy's mouth before Remy could say anything else. It may still be considered a joke if it is played up to this point, but if it continues it will be too much. Remy, you should use your smart brain to help me think about how to find Sirius Black. Harry changed the subject and said, I think he will come to find me, and he may even have come to Hogwarts. What good solution do I have? But if you need, I can write you a note so that at least you won't be affected by the Dementors during your search. Remy said. Harry was stunned for a moment. Really? You can also command Dementors. Remy didn't say anything, but walked to the window, opened it and whistled outside. 5 seconds later, a large group of Dementors rushed out of the window with billowing black smoke and floated quietly. Even though there was a pouring rain above their heads, not a single one of them was uneasy. The sudden appearance of the Dementors scared everyone. Even Ronald, who had successfully transformed into a berserker, shrank to the side. It was doubtful whether he would have hidden under the bed if he was not already in bed. Only Harry was relatively calm. Remy suspected that he was just ignorant and fearless. He didn't encounter any Dementors who made out with him on the train. These guys are my friends. Don't make things difficult for them when you meet them in the future. Especially this one named Harry Potter. He may have to move around the school frequently in the future due to some things. Please take care of him. If I find out that he has been hurt by your companions, I will skin you alive and make you become skeleton soldiers. Do you hear me? Remy pointed at Harry and said. The Dementors nodded repeatedly, then turned to look at Harry. The gazes from a large group of Dementors suddenly made Harry feel cold in his heart. He felt an inexplicable creepy feeling from his tailbone along his spine all the way to the top of his head. After a start, Harry came to his senses, forced a smile and waved his hand to greet the Dementors. A large group of Dementors quickly stretched out their hands and waved in return. However, it would have been fine if they didn't raise their hands. Once they raised their hands, Harry saw a whole bunch of skeleton hands shaking, which scared Harry so much that his face changed drastically. Okay, let's notify them. Oh, by the way. Remy, who was about to close the window, suddenly opened it again. If you find the fugitive, don't rush to catch him. I know you will do your duty and will not let him go, but before you officially catch him, remember to come and notify me, or Harry. Do you understand? The Dementors nodded repeatedly without any objection. Closing the windows to keep the wind and rain out, the Dementors saluted Remy in unison and then disappeared in the heavy rain. Not until they disappeared did the people in the dormitory breathe a sigh of relief. Harry looked grateful and seemed to want to say something, but after hesitating for a long time, he could only say thank you. Perhaps he had experienced too many things today and his ability to express himself had been drained. When he was overwhelmed with emotions, it was always difficult for him to say anything eloquent. After chatting with a few people about the holidays, asking them about their opinions on the Witcher auto chess and doing some market research, and finally eating and drinking for free, Remy left the dormitory contentedly and went to his own dormitory. This year he wasn't a Gryffindor, this year he was a Hufflepuff. Although Harry tried to persuade Remy to stay by saying that his bed was still there and he could stay here for the night, Remy said that it was only right for him to go back to his dormitory on the first day of the new school year. On the way back, Remy met Mr. Filch. This year, Mr. Filch was a little different. When he saw Remy, who was already out at night, he not only did not stop Remy, but also did not avoid him. He greeted Remy openly and continued his patrol. This made Remy stunned for a moment, and he couldn't help but wonder if Headmaster Dumbledore had said something to him that caused him to give up on Remy. This feeling of being abandoned made Remy both happy and depressed. He always felt that this would take away a lot of fun from his campus life. People are just like that. When being stared at, they want to break free. But when no one pays attention to them, they want to be noticed again. It's hard to deal with. Shaking his head, Remy returned to the dormitory and took a hot bath first, washing away the tiredness of the journey and all the random emotions. After taking a shower, Remy returned to his room, lay on the soft big bed and quickly fell asleep. It was a stormy night. That night, there were lightning and thunder. This night, I had a sweet dream alone. Chapter 156. The flowers fall and the water flows, one kind of lovesickness, two kinds of idle worries. On the first morning after school started, Remy got up early to exercise as if he had just arrived at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, then took his fishing gear to the Black Lake to fish to relax his body and mind. This time Remy made full preparations. Not only did he use special ropes to connect the special chair to a forest iron lock, he also connected a special fishing rod to the chair to ensure that no matter how big the fish is, it cannot drag him into the water while also preventing the fish from escaping. Unless the fish is strong enough to uproot an entire forest. If there really is such a fish in the Black Lake, Remy promises to catch it by any means necessary, no matter the cost. Because he brought a stool, Remy used a straight fishing rod today. It is convenient for fishing while sitting, and it is also more convenient as he doesn't have to keep turning the reel to reel in the line. At first glance, fishing with a straight rod doesn't require so much preliminary preparation, but it doesn't matter. This fishing spot was selected by Remy after a round of searching, and he will come here again when fishing in the future, so the previous preparations will not be wasted. What's more, who says you can't catch big fish with a straight rod? Using the levitation spell to help him swing the 40-meter-long super long straight pole, Remy controlled the fishing rod with one hand and put on special binoculars with the other hand. He could see the fish float clearly even if it was 100 meters away. It's just that the fish float sinks a little too fast. The water in this Black Lake is really deep. I don't know if I can control it this time. Retract the fishing rod, adjust the float and cast it out again. After repeated adjustments several times, the float was finally adjusted to the correct position. I have to say that the wandless levitation spell is really useful. If Remy didn't know how to cast the levitation spell without a wand, he wouldn't be able to fish with this fishing rod, and he wouldn't know how many peripherals he would have to set up to even pick it up. It's not like now, when one can cast and reel in a 40-meter-long fishing rod with just two hands. Remy hung a piece of fried steak coated with secret spices on a palm-sized fish hook, swung the fishing rod hard, and waited for the fish to bite. But Remy is not wasting food. The steaks he hangs are made by him through alchemy with soil as raw material, and it is like transfiguration that only changes its appearance and smell. If people eat it, they will get kidney stones. On the contrary, the spices above are genuine spices, and they have been strengthened by alchemy, which especially enhances their ability to attract fish. This also belongs to conceptual alchemy. In the second half of the holiday, Remy has been honing his conceptual alchemy skills. These spices were his practice works at that time. Now they can also be regarded as experimental products to see whether their effects can meet the expected indicators. Maybe the effect of this spice really met Remy's expectations, or maybe Remy was just lucky. Less than half a minute after the fishing rod was thrown down, the float sank to the bottom in Remy's vision enhanced by the binoculars. Immediately afterwards, the 40-meter-long fishing rod was pulled out of Remy's hand in an instant, which scared Remy. However, this time was unlike 2 years ago. This time, Remy's thorough preparations took effect immediately. The rope connecting the chair and the fishing rod instantly straightened, holding the fishing rod firmly. The rope connecting the tree and the chair at the back also straightened, holding the chair firmly. The only flaw was that the rope stretched straight for a moment and lifted the chair up, causing Remy to almost fall into the water. Fortunately, that didn't happen. Remy reacted in time and rolled off the chair and landed steadily on the ground. Big fish! Remy rubbed his hands excitedly and took off his glasses and put them in his pocket. You won't need these glasses for now. For Remy, as long as there is a bite, it is equivalent to catching it. Decoupling? Doesn't exist. The fish hook used by Remy is also specially made, and it also uses concept alchemy. Once bitten by a fish, it will not be able to escape from the hook even if the fish tears its mouth apart. What's more, it is impossible for it to break its mouth open. From the moment it bites the fish hook, its mouth and entire body are firmly sucked by the fish hook, unable to break free. Remy tried to pull the fishing rod, and was surprised to find that he couldn't pull it at all with his strength. From this, Remy came to a conclusion: the fish was bigger than he thought. The fishing rod was swinging wildly, but Remy didn't move an inch. He stepped back a little to avoid being hit by the swinging fishing rod, and waited quietly for the fish in the water to exhaust itself. Then he could easily catch the fish. I suddenly feel like fishing is not fun this way. No, I still have to fish myself. Rubbing his hands again, Remy put on a pair of non-slip dragon leather gloves, grabbed the fishing rod and pulled back with all his strength. 5 seconds later, Remy sat down on the ground. He gave up. I can't pull it at all. Forget it, forget it. I'll fish it myself next time I catch a smaller fish. This one is really beyond my ability. Remy casually made a table and a chair out of stone, took out the tea set, and drank tea leisurely while admiring the fishing rod swaying back and forth like a car wiper. 5 minutes passed in a flash. The fish was not tired yet, but Remy was tired of watching. 5 minutes later, the fish still hadn't come, but a little girl came instead. Why are you drinking tea here? Luna came over and asked, with a red squirrel standing on her shoulder. It was the one that Remy had been feeding. No one knew when the two of them became friends. Where else can I drink tea? In water? I've never tried it. As he spoke, Remy squatted down, picked up a stone, and made a chair and invited Luna to sit down. Luna didn't act pretentiously. She sat down calmly, took the tea handed to her by Remy and drank it, her big eyes staring at the wildly moving fishing rod with curiosity. What's wrong with this pole? It's so strange. What kind of magic did you cast on it? Or is it your new invention? Luna asked curiously. It's a new invention, a fishing rod, said Remy. Fishing rod? So it's moving around because a fish has taken the bait? Luna asked. Smart. But the fish is a little big and I can't pull it. Remy said. Are you waiting for the fish to get tired? Why not use magic to pull it up? Luna asked. Remy was stunned for a moment, a look of confusion appeared in his eyes. Magic? Is there any magic that can increase strength? Luna didn't say anything. She just stood up and pulled out the wand that served as a hairpin from her hair. Her soft golden hair fell in the wind, sparkling in the sunlight. Gently waving the magic wand, as Luna said a spell that Remy was very familiar with, the fishing rod that was swinging wildly in the water suddenly stopped shaking and slowly rose. Levitation spell. Remy suddenly realized and his face turned red. Fortunately, he remembered to use the floating spell when casting and reeling in the rod, but he actually forgot about it after catching the fish. Ahem, it's soulless to use magic to fish like this. Remy tried to save his dignity. Luna turned her head and looked at Remy, smiled slightly, nodded, put away her wand, sat down again and picked up the teacup. This tea is delicious. Chapter 157. They say chat while drinking tea, and drink tea while chatting, but when Remy and Luna sat together drinking tea, there was almost no communication between them. However, the atmosphere was not awkward, and both of them were quite relaxed. It's just an ordinary cup of tea, there's no need to talk so much. Drinking tea and playing with the little squirrels is also a kind of fun. About half an hour later, the fishing rod's swing became smaller and smaller, and finally almost stopped. Without using magic, Remy put on his gloves again and walked over to the chair to grab the fishing rod, trying to pull the tired fish ashore by his own strength. At first it was going smoothly, although it was a bit strenuous, but I could still pull it. But when I pulled the fishing rod completely to the shore and was about to pull the fishing line, the fish struggled violently. If Remy hadn't let go quickly, he would have been pulled into the water. But even though he was about to let go and was not pulled into the water, he was suddenly hit by the fishing rod behind him and fell headlong. This made Remy a little annoyed, and also made Remy truly feel how weak wizards who don't use magic are. Without using magic, he couldn't even deal with a useless fish. Do you need my help? Luna asked. No need. Remy shook his head, it really won't work without magic. I'd better use magic. He raised his hand, used magic to lift the fishing rod, and swung it hard, and a huge fish was immediately pulled out of the water. After drawing a nearly perfect parabola in the air, the big fish slammed into the ground with a bang, bounced 3 times, and finally landed next to Hagrid. The big fish falling from the sky scared Hagrid at first, and then he was confused. Looking up at the sky, Hagrid scratched his head and thought, there is no tornado, so how could such a big fish fall from the sky? It wasn't until Hagrid noticed Remy and Luna running towards the lake that he realized what was going on. It's amazing that we could catch such a big fish. I've never caught such a big fish in my life, said Hagrid. As he spoke, Hagrid bent down, grasped the fish's gills with one hand, lifted it straight up and shook it. You seem to have fainted. Do you need me to help you take it to the castle to show off? Hagrid asked with a smile to Remy who had arrived. Looking at the fish in Hagrid's hand, Remy's eyes flashed with disappointment. The fish was probably more than 2 meters but less than 3 meters long, and not very thick either, especially when compared to Hagrid, it looked even slimmer. This was not even close to what he had expected, and it was even harder for him to accept that he was defeated by this fish. Strictly speaking, it wasn't a defeat, it just forced him to use magic. It's too small to be worth showing off, said Remy. Signaling Hagrid to put the fish down, Remy began to remove the fish hook from the fish's mouth. Hagrid was stunned by the huge fish hook. My goodness, how big a fish do you want to catch with such a big hook? Asked Hagrid. Of course, we'll catch as big as we can. Remy said, you can use this fish to feed the small animals you raise. Some of them should eat fish, right? Thank you so much. I came here just to see where is a good place to catch fish. I have adopted a lot of new cuties, so you must come during class. Hagrid said. The little cutie that Hagrid mentioned, why do I feel like she's not that cute? Although he complained silently in his heart, Remy still promised Hagrid that he would attend class on time. It doesn't matter whether the animals are cute or not, Remy simply wants to see more magical creatures in person and study them at the same time. After saying goodbye to Hagrid and packing up my fishing gear, the sun had already climbed over the hillside. After returning to the castle with Luna, they went back to their dormitories to rest. After a simple breakfast, Remy went to class with his new classmates. The first lesson of the new school year was History of Magic. Cuthbert Binns used his unchanging voice to provide students with the best sleep-to-sleep song, and successfully received a lot of 5-star reviews, after the get-out of class was over. Many students even said that they would come back to attend the class next time if they couldn't sleep. In the afternoon, Harry came to find Remy and told him that he had gone to see Principal Dumbledore at noon. Peter Pettigrew had been handed over to the Ministry of Magic, but the Ministry of Magic did not withdraw the wanted warrant for Sirius. Principal Dumbledore said that what Minister Fudge said about Sirius escaping from prison is true and he must be caught. And there is no other physical evidence to confirm Pettigrew's statement, so Sirius' suspicion cannot be completely ruled out. Harry said. Headmaster Dumbledore said Minister Fudge said? Who said that then? That's normal. Sirius broke the myth of Azkaban. Just for this reason, even if it can be proved that he was wronged, it is impossible to let him go. If he is not caught, the Ministry of Magic will lose face. Remy said. That's what Headmaster Dumbledore told me, but well. Don't think too much. Although Fudge is a bit of ABD, he still abides by the basic rules. As long as the investigation is thorough, he will vindicate Sirius. If you really want to help Sirius, go find him, otherwise he will be afraid to show up and hide. Yes, I will. By the way, Professor Lupin seems to be having problems. Remy. How did you come to doubt Professor Lupin again? In the first year, you suspected Professor Snape, in the second year, you suspected Malfoy, and now you suspect Professor Lupin. Can your sharp intuition be reliable for once? There were so many things to complain about that Remy wanted to express, but at the moment he could only hold it in, and he was almost hurting himself. What's wrong with him? Remy asked. He seemed to know about Peter Pettigrew's arrest. He came to me and asked me about Peter Pettigrew, but it didn't seem like he was asking out of curiosity. He seemed to be particularly concerned about this matter. But he didn't ask directly, and kept testing me in a roundabout way. Harry said, and when I asked him why he didn't ask Headmaster Dumbledore directly, he kept laughing and talking about other things. Remy. Okay, that does sound a bit fishy. So, what do you think is his problem? Remy asked. I think he may have a deep connection with Peter Pettigrew, otherwise there is no reason for him to care so much about Peter Pettigrew's affairs. At this point, Harry suddenly sighed and scratched his head. But I always feel that there is something wrong with thinking this way, as if I have forgotten something. Plus, I have been suspecting the wrong people for the past 2 years, so I want you to help me sort out my thoughts so as to avoid suspecting the wrong people again. Harry said a little embarrassedly. Well, it's a big change for you to say that. Remy reached out and patted Harry's shoulder in a mature manner, with an expression of satisfaction on his face, showing that the boy was teachable. You overlooked another possibility. Which possibility? It's possible that he's not concerned about Peter Pettigrew, but about Sirius. Chapter 168. Was Lupin concerned about Sirius rather than Peter Pettigrew? Oh yes. It is indeed possible. Awesome. Why didn't I think of that? You're so awesome. Harry said excitedly. So Remy, who seemed a little embarrassed by the compliment, waved his hands. I just know a little more than you do. Professor Lupin and your father are good friends. Harry was stunned. Is it true? Professor Lupin and my father are good friends? Harry asked. Really? Remy nodded affirmatively. Your father, Professor Lupin, and Sirius and Peter Pettigrew, the 4 of them were influential figures at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry back then. They were known as the F4. F4? Is it true? Where did you hear that? Harry asked. You can find out by asking any professor, or even Professor Hagrid, he knows too. Remy said, but I advise you not to learn too much about your father's past. Why? Harry asked immediately. Well, do you like Malfoy? I mean, do you like people like Malfoy? Remy said after thinking for a while. Harry shook his head without even thinking. No, I don't like people like him at all, I hate people like him very much. Malfoy is a far cry from your father, Remy said. Of course. But my father is, What do you mean? Harry was stunned for a moment and then frowned and asked, You don't mean to say that my father was? It's just what you think. Remy nodded. At the same time, I can also tell you that Professor Snape was as honest as Neville back then, so he and your father, well, you know. Harry. My father, isn't that bad? Wait, if my father's relationship with Professor Snape was really the same as Malfoy's and Neville's now, or even worse, then Professor Snape is always giving me trouble now. It's a betrayal to my son. This father is really a traitor to his son, isn't he? Looking at Harry, who seemed to understand something, Remy raised the corner of his mouth slightly and decided to add fuel to the fire. You know, Harry, if you were a girl, Professor Snape would definitely take good care of you, just because you have the same eyes as your mother, said Remy. Ah? Why, you don't mean to say that Professor Snape did that to my mother? The more Harry spoke, the lower his voice became, and the wider his eyes became. I have to say, his eyes are really beautiful. Of course, they are still slightly inferior to Remy's. Remy patted Harry's shoulder and said, If you want to improve Professor Snape's attitude towards you, since we are friends, I will help you with this, no matter how difficult it is, hee. Harry rolled his eyes and slapped Remy's hand away. No, thank you. I'm quite happy with my current situation. Don't be so absolute. Life is unpredictable. Maybe you will figure it out one day, Remy said. After shaking his head vigorously, Harry quickly changed the subject and talked about the F4, including his father. However, Remy couldn't remember the details, so Remy suggested that Harry go directly to ask Professor McGonagall. After lunch, Remy had a nice nap. When he woke up, the sunny sky started raining again. It was dark outside and Remy was so scared that he thought he had overslept. However, after checking the time, he realized that he had only slept for an hour and there were still nearly 2 hours left before the afternoon class. With nothing to do, Remy went to his laboratory to continue working. First, open the window to ventilate, listen to the sound of wind and rain, and then start up several machines in the corner. After turning on the machines and letting them automatically produce the Witcher auto chess, Remy came to the workbench, took out a pen and paper and fell into deep thought, occasionally writing down some ideas on paper. He was thinking about all matters related to the Wizard Auto Chess competition, from the way to enter the competition to the competition process to the competition rewards, thinking about it bit by bit and improving it bit by bit. The first thing to think about is naturally the competition rewards, which can be given directly in galleons. And the rewards don't need to be too much. 1,000 galleons is enough for first place, 600 galleons for second place, 300 galleons for third place, 200 galleons for fourth to sixth place, 100 galleons for 7th to 10th place, 50 galleons for 11th to 20th place, and 10 galleons for 21st to 30th place. The top 3 will receive an extra trophy, and the top 10 will receive an extra medal. Perfect. Such generous rewards plus rewards for the top 30 should motivate everyone to participate. Once everyone buys my Wizard Auto Chess, I can continue to make money by selling chess piece skins, ha 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 ha. After enjoying the beautiful future, Remy continued to conceive the rest of the content. The essence of holding a competition is to promote, not only the product of Wizard Auto Chess, but also Remy himself and the store. So naturally the more contestants the better. I can provide the auto chess for the competition myself. In this way, the competition process can be divided into auditions, preliminary rounds, and reselections, until 8 people are selected for the final. The longer the competition is, the better. It would be best if it could last for half a year. This way, the competition would maintain its popularity and give the contestants enough time to improve their skills, making the competition more enjoyable to watch. Remy thought silently. He didn't want to see 8 noobs fighting each other in the finals. If that happened, his Witcher Auto Chess would become a joke. The auditions can be more entertaining, but the finals must be competitive enough. The promotion rules are based on the points. The first place in each game gets 8 points, and the last place gets 1 point. Each person plays 5 games per round. This will not only prolong the game cycle and make it more fair, but also provide me with enough data for me to make secret changes, to optimize the balance between the chess pieces. Oh, and we can also add a resurrection match, to allow those who are slow to learn but quickly improve their chess skills to make a comeback. Tisk tisk, if we can get a few dark horses out, it will definitely be a hot topic. There are also competition broadcasts. The auditions don't matter, but the semi-finals and finals must be broadcast live on the entire big screen outside the store. Oh, and ideas pop up and are recorded, and rules are added to make the event more formal. Squeezing out the last bit of inspiration, Remy checked the time, picked up his textbook and headed to the potions classroom for class. I entered the classroom on time and Professor Snape was already there. Just as Remy was about to say hello to Professor Snape suddenly spoke first. Remy Barrett, step into the classroom with your left foot first, and Hufflepuff Academy will deduct 50 points. Remy. Chapter 159. Deducting points for entering the classroom with your left foot first? You don't want to act anymore, right? But I haven't messed with Snape recently, right? Didn't I help Snape find the real murderer who caused Lily's death? Why didn't he think of repaying the favor but instead turned around and picked a fight with me? With all kinds of doubts, Remy even forgot to argue with Professor Snape and walked into the classroom silently. As soon as I sat down, an extremely discordant voice came from the side. Remy, it's all your fault. Remy frowned. Why blame me? Sean, I didn't do anything wrong. Can you blame me for this? You made me lose a sicko, why don't I blame you? Sean said with his eyes wide open. Remy. What is going on? When did I make you lose money again? What's wrong with you today? Are you looking for trouble with me? Just when Remy was confused, Sean gave an explanation. Where's your former ruthlessness? In first grade, you even dared to point at Snape's nose and scold him. Why are you so cowardly now? Go fight him. Sean said with a look of disappointment. Remy. You bastards are not betting on my reaction, are you? That's right, Remy, FK him, said another classmate next to him. You think Hufflepuff got too much? Remy asked. How is that possible? Sean said, but even if more points are deducted, we'll still be last, and there's not much room for improvement. That's right. What's the big deal if they deduct more points? Can they make our school the second to last? Whatever, as long as he didn't deliberately deduct points, it doesn't matter. If he deliberately finds fault and causes points to be deducted, he can treat everyone to a good meal, and everyone will forgive him. Yes, but it has to be made by hand, and it has to be delicious and receive unanimous praise from everyone. Well. Remy was completely dumbfounded. He had been to 3 colleges in 3 years, but this was the first time he encountered such a casual college. For a moment, he really couldn't accept it. Excuse me for asking, what should I do if my cooking skills are not good enough to make delicious food? Remy asked. Easy. Sean patted Remy's shoulder, we have plenty of patience. We can wait for you to improve your cooking skills. Sean, Remy, Robert, David, for disrupting class order, each of you will be deducted 5 points. The sudden sound of deduction made everyone quiet down. Then some shrugged their shoulders, some rolled their eyes, and some flipped through their books, but no one seemed to take the deduction seriously. Remy was shocked by this atmosphere, and even felt a little embarrassed. I'll treat you guys to dinner tonight. I know a little bit about cooking and the food shouldn't kill you. Remy whispered. Sean's eyes lit up, you said it. No one forced you to do that. Yes, I said that. Remy nodded and said, but does anyone know why Professor Snape was so against me just now? The school has just started, and I didn't offend him. You don't know. Sean was stunned for a moment, his eyes suddenly became strange, then why didn't you do it to him just now? I thought you didn't do it because you felt guilty. Why should I feel guilty? What do I have to feel guilty about? Remy asked puzzledly. The last class was between Slytherin and Gryffindor. During class, Professor Snape found fault with Harry and deducted 2 points from him. As a result, Harry stood up and asked Professor Snape if he was targeting him because he had failed in his pursuit of his mother. I heard that Professor Snape's face was almost as black as ink at that time. Sean said gossipingly with an indescribable smile on his face. But at this moment, Remy's expression was similar to what he described Snape's expression as. That has nothing to do with me? Shouldn't he deduct points from Harry? Why deduct points from me? Remy asked with a dark face. He had already guessed the answer in his mind, but he felt that he still had to verify it just in case. Are you pretending to be confused or do you really not know? Sean asked. Then Professor Snape deducted 100 points from Harry and asked him where he heard the rumor. Maybe because too many points were deducted, Harry got a little carried away. You know, Gryffindor is not like us. They take the house points very seriously. So he dumped you and said he heard it from you. Remy. MMP. I have a sentence MMP that I have to say whether I should say it or not, and I have already said it. You idiot, I told you about Professor Snape's dark history because I hoped you could understand him, but you actually went to kiss his face. Especially in front of so many classmates. Just one word, disgusting. I only say this in private. Judging from your expression, it must be true. Be careful. Professor Snape has sharp ears and has already heard and noticed your expression. He will definitely give you another. Sean, Remy, for disrupting the class, Hufflepuff Academy will deduct 100 points. Points deducted. Sean shrugged. You really don't take it seriously. I've been deducted 150 points. No, it's 155 points. More points than Harry deducted. Remy said, gritting his teeth. Who made you the initiator of the rumor? Isn't it normal for you to be deducted more points as the culprit? Sean said. After glancing at Professor Snape, Sean leaned closer to Remy and lowered his voice to continue asking, tell us in detail about Professor Snape after class. Remy. Isn't your heart a little too big? After having so many points deducted, you still have the time to listen to gossip? If this happened in Gryffindor House, not only would they not listen to my gossip after class, they would probably tie me to a cross and burn me after class. They are all students of the same school, so why is there such a big difference just because they belong to different colleges? Just when Remy was at a loss for words about Sister Chi, Robert, who was sitting opposite Remy, suddenly spoke, and his voice was quite loud. Remy, just tell me now. Don't worry, I just calculated that Professor Snape only has 20 points left to be deducted this year, so just tell me. At most, he will be deducted another 20 points, which is no big deal. I'll take it. Robert patted his chest and said generously. As he finished speaking, the entire classroom, including the Ravenclaw students, first looked at Robert, then looked at Professor Snape, whose gloomy expression almost blended into his black hair, and finally looked at Remy. In their eyes, there was nothing but gossip and curiosity. Remy was frightened by being suddenly stared at by so many people. He didn't dare to look at Professor Snape at all, for fear of being killed by his eye attack. At the same time, Remy couldn't help but curse Robert in his heart for being unreliable. Even though Professor Snape cannot deduct points, he is a professor and the head of Slytherin House. He is a senior executive of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. If he wants to punish a student, how could the only method he has be to deduct points? You are too naive. Chapter 160. After thinking it over again and again, Remy decided. I would rather die than let my friend die. Whatever the reason is, since you, Harry, sold me out first, don't blame me for returning the favor. I don't know what you are talking about. I have been completely wronged. I know nothing and I have never said anything. Harry and I am not familiar with him. I have never heard of Harry. Remy said seriously. Perhaps knowing that Professor Snape could no longer deduct points, both Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw students in the classroom showed their true selves. There was a lot of booing at the scene, and some people even raised their middle fingers to Remy to express their highest respect for Remy and their dissatisfaction with their gossipy hearts not being satisfied. Quiet. Snape said coldly with a sullen face. I think I need to remind you that the points I deducted today have not been summarized. In fact, I only need to summarize the bonus and deductions to Headmaster Dumbledore before the end of the House Cup at the end of the school year. In other words, I can change whose points are deducted and how many points are deducted at any time. This remark successfully silenced the students, and Professor Snape continued with the class. The class was quiet and orderly after that, as if nothing had happened before, except for Professor Snape who still had a sullen face. But after class, they instantly returned to their previous state, and even became worse. A large group of people surrounded Remy, with 3 layers of people inside and outside. Some people even stood on the table and poked their heads over to Remy with a gossipy look on their faces to ask questions. But since he said in class that he didn't know about the rumors, Remy doesn't plan to go back on his words now. He told Harry that he didn't intend to cause trouble for Professor Snape, so he certainly wouldn't cause trouble for Snape now just because of the house points that no one cared about. If Hufflepuff's classmates cared about their house scores, Remy might have satisfied their curiosity to appease them, but unfortunately they didn't care, and Remy didn't need to appease them. They can only blame themselves. Remy insisted that he didn't know, and after asking for a long time without success, everyone gave up. Hufflepuff's classmates turned to ask Remy what delicious food they were going to make in the evening. It's a secret for now, you guys can look forward to it, maybe it's not suitable for your taste, but I guarantee you have never eaten it before. Remy said mysteriously. Just brag, we have eaten everything. Selena can cook French food. Sean said. There is more than just French food in the world. I'll go back and prepare something. See you in the kitchen at 9 o'clock this evening. Remy patted Sean on the shoulder and said. Prepare more ingredients. You lost so many points today. You should at least make enough for 10 people. No problem, not to mention 10 servings, 50 servings are no problem. You said it, I'm going to get some help. Go ahead, shout more. Eating is all about the atmosphere. A lively atmosphere makes eating more enjoyable. Okay, just because of what you said, if we don't call all the students in the academy here, it means that there is no qualified foodie in our Hufflepuff Academy. Saying goodbye to Sean with a smile, Remy first went to the kitchen to ask the house elf for some ingredients, and then returned to the laboratory to start preparing for the evening dinner. The reason why he had to do it in the laboratory was because there were many things he had not found, and he could only use alchemy to change the properties of some ingredients to create the flavors he remembered. When was the last time I cooked? 5 years ago? I think I made fried rice with egg. It's so rare for me to cook, and I don't know how bad my cooking skills have become. Remy sighed and looked at the Huxia kitchen knife in his hand with mixed feelings. He hasn't held a sword for so long that he almost forgot that he was once a swordsman who dreamed of traveling the world with a sword. Let's prepare some hot pot base first. If the other dishes don't taste good, let them eat shabu shabu hot pot, I'm so smart. With a chuckle, Remy officially began to prepare the hot pot base. Normally, preparing hot pot base is a very troublesome task, but it is very simple for Remy. He only needs to find the raw materials in his memory. As for the taste, he can use alchemy to adjust it slowly later. If Remy wasn't afraid of scaring them, he could even make hot pot base out of a piece of stone. 1 clear soup, 1 slightly spicy, 1 milk soup, 1 medium spicy, 1 super spicy, 1 seafood. Would you like another spicy crayfish flavor? After hesitating for a long time, Remy decided not to try those messy flavors to avoid bringing shame to Huxia cuisine. After preparing the hot pot base, Remy relaxed and started to prepare other ingredients. Remy didn't have many kinds of ingredients, and even fewer spices, but with the help of alchemy he could modify the ingredients as he pleased. For this purpose, Remy specially asked the house elf for a large basket of potatoes. Potatoes are used as the raw material, so even if they are modified and eaten, no food safety accidents will occur. At most, they will not have much nutritional value. From appearance to taste, from flavor to texture, everything can be modified. After working for more than 2 hours to prepare all the necessary ingredients, Remy brought all the materials in a large number of crucibles purchased when he first entered school to the kitchen to officially start cooking. The first thing to be completed was naturally the hot pot. With the hot pot base and side dishes prepared in advance, and the house elves using magic to help heat it up, 10 pots of cauldron hot pot were on the table in less than 5 minutes. There is a small brazier under each crucible that keeps heating it. Waves of tempting aroma keep coming out, making everyone who smells it salivate faster. What is this? Let me guess. This soup is definitely not for drinking, said a Hufflepuff classmate who arrived early, looking at the plates of side dishes that the house elves had just placed on the table. That's right, but there's no reward, and you can only stand here and drool while waiting for others to come, said Remy. Tisk, do you think I'm stupid? Can't I just go and call someone over right now? With a chuckle, he turned around and ran away without a trace. After a while, he came back with 2 people from the dormitory. The 10 people were divided into 2 groups and stood around the 2 crucibles. They picked their favorite side dishes and put them into the pots to cook without any instruction. But after they were cooked, they were in trouble. "Remy, give me a bigger spoon, how can I eat otherwise?" someone shouted. "This dish is not drunk with the soup. It is eaten by dipping it in the hot pot. Only the vegetables that are cooked in the hot pot are eaten," Remy explained. "Oh, then give us 2 colanders," said the man. Remy was stunned for a moment, and reluctantly let the house elf provide them with a colander. But what can you do with a colander? Even if they held the colander directly, it would be inconvenient for them to put the overcooked ingredients into their mouths, not to mention that they still used the colander to scoop them into the plate and then used a knife and fork. Remy was very happy to see that each of them had more difficulty eating than the other. "Damn, who gave you chopsticks but you didn't use them? And you made a mess all over the table." Chapter 161. They were already eating hot pot outside, and although it wasn't going too smoothly, they still tried their best to overcome it. These guys used transfiguration to turn the chopsticks on the table into tweezers. Although it's a bit crazy and not very convenient, it does work. They were eating enthusiastically. After being busy in the kitchen for half an hour, Remy decided to order takeout. Ahem, that was of course impossible. It was impossible to order takeout, and there was no place to order takeout in the wizarding world, but Remy, who had recognized his cooking skills through practice, gave up cooking high-end dishes and only made a few home-cooked dishes. Dishes like fried rice with egg, scrambled eggs with tomatoes, 3 vegetarian dishes, and shredded potatoes with vinegar are all the most common ways. Remy felt that the taste was okay, but the classmates didn't know whether they had never eaten this kind of food before or were just being polite. They all said that the taste was very good. When Remy finished work and came out to eat with everyone, when Remy picked up the chopsticks to fry the meat, they suddenly realized the function of the small branches, and one by one they followed Remy's example and used chopsticks. But chopsticks are not so easy to learn, especially for first-timers. Even though Remy has been patiently teaching them, no one has really mastered it until everyone is full. There are a few people who use it and it looks like it works, but it's just that, at best it can only pick up large objects like meat slices and vegetables, but it has no chance of picking up vermicelli or the like. After dinner, Remy taught them how to use chopsticks during the break, and they agreed to have another meal together on the weekend to eat hot pot. In the next few days, Harry seemed to have disappeared from the face of the earth. Even when Remy went to his dormitory to look for him several times, he was nowhere to be seen. It was as if he was hiding from Remy out of guilt. After searching for Harry for the 3rd time without success, Remy gave up on finding him and instead focused his energy back on studying and his own affairs. Professor Lupin is a good professor. Although he does not teach much interesting magic, he brings many evil magical creatures for students to practice. These are all magical creatures that are not very harmful but each has its own difficulties, allowing students to experience the diversity of the magical world. After a few classes, Remy felt that Professor Lupin could work together with Professor Hagrid, with Professor Hagrid introducing how to live in harmony with those magical creatures, and then Professor Lupin would teach students how to deal with those magical creatures. But it's just a thought. Professor Hagrid would most likely not agree. He loves magical creatures so much that he is crazy about them, even to the point that it is unbelievable. To be honest, Remy didn't like Professor Hagrid's magical creature protection class, because every time Remy attended the class, he felt like he was listening to a lecture by an animal protection activist. Professor Hagrid never tires of repeating over and over again how cute, good, and friendly those magical creatures are, and rarely mentions their dangers and the harm they may cause. Remy always felt that if things continued like this, a teaching accident would happen sooner or later, and that day didn't come long before. On the afternoon of the day when Remy finished his animal protection class, it was said that when it was the turn of Slytherin and Gryffindor houses, the stitched hippogriff, which had a long name and served as a teaching prop, went out of control. Someone was injured, and the victim was Malfoy, whose father was a school director. Remy was not surprised at all, nor did he think that this was the result of some world's corrective force. When he was teaching, the hippogriff was not subject to any restrictions. However, Professor Hagrid required all the students to salute the hippogriff one by one in order to gain its recognition and become friends with it. It would be strange if sparks didn't fly between such a proud animal that always required people to salute it first and met Malfoy, who advocated pure blood and aristocraticism, without any restraint. After knowing this, Remy did nothing and didn't pay much attention to it. In Remy's opinion, it would be a good thing if Hagrid could recognize his mistake because of this incident and change himself to become a truly qualified professor. And if Hagrid doesn't realize that his identity has changed and can't adapt to his new identity as a professor, then so be it. There are many truths that cannot be understood simply by knowing them. Without experiencing them, one can never truly understand them, especially for a stubborn person like Hagrid. Unless he wakes up himself, no matter what others say, it will be of no use. More than half a month passed in a flash. After Remy perfected the competition process and rules, he found Principal Dumbledore and formally proposed the plan to hold the competition to him. Headmaster Dumbledore was also very interested in wizard auto chess and even bought a set at his own expense. Therefore, Headmaster Dumbledore agreed to Remy's plan to hold a competition without much thought, and even suggested that he could ask the professors to help promote it. However, Headmaster Dumbledore obviously underestimated Remy. Less than an hour after he agreed to hold the competition at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, promotional posters were pasted all over the dormitory doors and walls of the common rooms of the 4 major colleges, ensuring that every student could see them. There was even a registration point and plenty of flyers at the entrance of each college dormitory. Those in charge of the registration were students from Hufflepuff College, who had been bribed by Remy. No, to be exact, Remy was convinced by them. Hufflepuff College was too obscure in Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. After constant persuasion from his classmates, Remy finally agreed to name the first Wizard Auto Chess competition Remy's Aid and Hufflepuff College Cup. Simply by adding the name of Hufflepuff Academy to the event, a large number of volunteers were attracted, and the students of Hufflepuff Academy gained unprecedented attention. Both parties were very satisfied and it was a win-win situation. The registration period lasted for a week. Because there was no threshold for registration, all students, even Mr. Filch, signed up to join in the fun. When the final list of contestants was being counted and divided into groups, Remy also saw Harry, who had been elusive for a long time. He didn't know whether he was just joining in the fun or really going to participate. Remy is very happy that the first event has been successfully turned into a super event with the participation of the whole nation. At the same time, he is also more concerned to prevent any unsuccessful follow-up. After arranging the groups by drawing lots, Remy asked the volunteers of Hufflepuff Academy to announce the audition groups, the location and time of the competition to the whole school. The venue is in the Hogwarts Great Hall, and the time is every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday at 8 p.m. At this time, everyone has already eaten and is bored. Wouldn't it be great to watch a game or participate in a game in person? Chapter 162. Why don't you start yet? Is it time? Where are the people? Isn't it going to be cancelled? What the hell, I'm going to win a championship. Go away, you are such a lousy chess player, and you still want to win the championship? I didn't even say I wanted to win the championship. Come on, you're not much better than him. You talk like you're so great, but who was that person last night begging you to please let me get into the top 4? You, what do you know? This is called tactics. Showing weakness to the enemy, understand? Then you made a comeback. Didn't you get eliminated in 6th place? You. Bang. The sudden explosion startled everyone, but when they saw the fireworks blooming over the auditorium, everyone became excited again. Here it comes. It's finally about to begin. I'm so hungry and ready to kill. Bang. Bang bang as the fireworks rose into the sky, the images of chess pieces appeared in the air, vivid and lifelike. Behind the chess pieces was a huge chessboard, and then more fireworks rose into the sky. In the shocked eyes of everyone, the chess pieces that emerged from the fireworks actually started to play chess on the huge chessboard. The little wizards were all stunned, yet more excited at the same time. The fireworks lasted for about 5 minutes. Suddenly, cold fireworks shot out from the platform at the end of the hall, startling the people around them. At the same time, Remy, Headmaster Dumbledore, and the deans of the 4 major colleges made a brilliant appearance. Remy is at the front, in the absolute center position. Welcome, everyone, to the first Remy's Aid and Hufflepuff Academy Cup Wizards Auto Chess Tournament jointly organized by Remy's Aid Store and Hufflepuff Academy. After speaking a long paragraph in one breath, Remy paused. The person who was arranged in advance in the crowd immediately took the lead in applauding, and in a blink of an eye, he led everyone to applaud and cheer together. With a satisfied smile, Remy stretched out his hand and pressed it in the air before continuing, I'm glad that everyone likes the game I invented. After making a witty remark to liven up the atmosphere, Remy continued his speech. I won't talk about any irrelevant nonsense, let's just talk about the rules. You should already know the group list for the competition. It doesn't matter if you don't know. I'll tell you later. Now, everyone please move away from the table and come to the aisle. Okay. After waiting for a while, seeing that the crowd had gathered in the aisle, Remy snapped his fingers, and a series of barriers suddenly appeared in the area in front of the long table. They were similar to the anti-cheating barriers in the examination room, but they were more temporary, without even a gap, and each one was like a sealed telephone booth. Each one has a number on it. These were all made in advance by Remy and transferred using the transfer spell. In order to prevent cheating, and also to prevent anyone from making noise and affecting the contestants' performance, all contestants will have to enter the cubicle to compete, Remy explained. Then how can we watch the game? 2, who was arranged in the crowd, asked immediately. Don't worry about this, because... Bang, he snapped his fingers again, and screens suddenly appeared between the 4 long tables. At first glance, they looked very much like the layout of computers in an internet cafe. You can watch the game on the screen later. You can also see the real-time status of the contestants on the screen. You can also vote for your favorite chess player. I will provide an extra mysterious reward for the chess player with the most votes. Remy explained, you can watch 4 games at the same time through this screen, and you can also click to enlarge one of the games to see it more clearly. Now, please take your seats and listen to Headmaster Dumbledore's words. After saying that, Remy led the applause, and the students also took their seats while clapping, while staring at the screen in front of them curiously. Then I'll say a few words. Headmaster Dumbledore stepped forward and said, then suddenly winked playfully, the game officially begins. Not to mention other students, even Remy was confused by Headmaster Dumbledore's speech. Instead, it was Thor in the crowd who reacted first and led the applause. Remy came to his senses and quickly joined in the applause. After the applause died down, Remy stepped forward again. Since Headmaster Dumbledore has said so, please invite Vice Headmaster McGonagall to announce the names and numbers of today's contestants. Please enter the corresponding numbered competition area and prepare to start the competition. Oh, by the way, paper and pens are provided in the competition area. Food and water are also provided in both the competition area and the spectator area, but toilets are not provided. If you need them, please solve your physiological problems within 10 minutes after Vice Principal McGonagall announces the list. It successfully triggered a wave of laughter. The professional MC, Professor McGonagall, walked up with a piece of parchment, cleared his throat, and began to read out the list of contestants and their corresponding numbers. Every time Professor McGonagall read out a name, there would be applause from the audience, especially the applause from their own college, which was very similar to the scene when they first arrived at the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. When all the contestants were in place and confirmed that no one had any physiological problems to solve, Remy immediately announced the official start of the competition. Rows of screens lit up at the same time. Plates of snacks suddenly appeared, along with cups of drinks. But at this moment, neither snacks nor drinks could attract the little wizards. They were all attracted by the screen, and each of them pointed at the screen curiously. This kind of trendy stuff, let alone them, even if it was brought to the Muggle world, it wouldn't just be curiosity, it would definitely cause an uproar. This is an invention ahead of its time. 30 years ahead. If you add live broadcast and picture quality, it will be 50 years ahead. The only problem is that the operating system is a bit laggy. It has no operating system and can only be used to broadcast matches. It was specially customized by Remy for this match. They were given 2 minutes to study. As Remy announced the official start of the game, fireworks rose into the sky again. At the same time, all the Wizard Auto Chess games provided by Remy in the compartment were automatically turned on and connected to the pre-designed local area network. There is no longer only the image of the chess player on the screen in front of each person. 4 chessboards appear on the screen in front of each person, and a 30-second countdown appears on each chessboard. As the countdown continued to get smaller, everyone couldn't help but become nervous. Until the countdown reached 0 and the chessboard lit up, everyone cheered and scrambled to switch views back and forth to check each player's opening situation. Some people nodded secretly, some instantly started talking king mode and commented on the good or bad chess players' openings with people around them, and some people with more flexible minds walked around with boxes in their arms, asking if anyone wanted to place a bet. That's right, the last thing we are talking about is the Weasley twins. Chapter 163. Remy does not plan to participate in the auto chess competition. He is only interested in the blossoming in the second half of the year, the new activities in the second half of the year that are being prepared. However, in order to fulfill his agreement with Ronald, Remy designed an exhibition match during the competition, involving the winner of the competition, the 4 major deans, Headmaster Dumbledore, and himself, a total of 8 people. As for whether Ronald can qualify to play with them, it depends on his ability and luck. The wizard auto chess still requires a lot of luck. Whether the chosen lineup is defeated by the opponent, whether useful chess pieces can be refreshed after each round, and whether the random opponent in each round is strong or weak all depend on luck. Remy casually took a look at the races chosen by the contestants. There were 32 people in the 4 groups playing all kinds of races, except for goblins, which surprised Remy a little. Really? Goblins are the race I've put the most effort into, but no one is playing with goblin technology? They'll be invincible in the later stages. After looking around again in silence, Remy discovered that almost everyone was playing a race that was strong in the early stages or had good special effects, such as werewolves and Vila. Vila is also a late-stage race in Remy's design, and needs to be matched with 1 or 2 meat shields like giants to exert its true strength. As for the werewolf race, it is an early mid-stage race, and its strength is the last in the late stage. But the number of people who used werewolves was the largest. Among the 32 people, there were 6 who played werewolves, which was almost 1/5. Who do you think will win? Asked Headmaster Dumbledore. It's hard to say. When noobs are fighting each other, anything is possible. Experts may be eliminated early. The gameplay ideas of high-end and low-end games are completely different. If half of the people in a game have high-end ideas, the final winner will definitely be among those 4 people. But if there is only one person in a game who has high-end ideas, he will most likely be eliminated first. Remy said. Oh, I see. No wonder I'm often eliminated first when I play. Headmaster Dumbledore said happily. Professor McGonagall next to him rolled his eyes after hearing this and thought to himself that you are not what Remy said at all, you are just a rookie. With the messy lineup you play in every game, you will be eliminated first no matter what game you are in. After silently complaining about Headmaster Dumbledore, Professor McGonagall continued to carefully watch and learn from the contestants' playing methods. She knew about the exhibition match, and they would have to compete with the champion in front of all the students. Dumbledore as the headmaster can no longer be relied upon. The reputation of the professorial group must be supported by her, and she must not embarrass herself. The other 3 deans were in a similar situation, all paying close attention to the competition. After 1 round of competition, there will be a 10-minute break and then the second round will begin. There will be a total of 5 rounds. After 5 rounds of competition, 20 first-place winners emerged, but no one of them won the first place 3 times, which shows that their levels are indeed equal. After the results of the competition were announced, it was theoretically curfew time, and a group of people returned to the dormitory in a crowd, excitedly discussing the previous competition along the way. Headmaster Dumbledore was very pleased with the lively scene, and was even more pleased that Remy restored the hall's decoration by himself after the game without causing any trouble to others. After greeting several professors, Remy returned to the dormitory to rest. Today's first competition was very successful. Not only did it arouse the students' enthusiasm, but the average level of the first batch of contestants did not scare the contestants behind them. It was perfect. This is undoubtedly the best outcome for Remy, the organizer. As the organizer of the competition, Remy is not afraid of noobs winning awards. He is just afraid that the winners will be better than the last, so good that others will be discouraged. In the following period of time, Remy continued to carry out the competition step by step, keeping the heat of the competition going. When all the auditions were over and the official elimination rounds began, the heat of the competition reached a new height. The official knockout rounds are obviously more entertaining than the previous ones, and there are many eye-catching moves in almost every game. Remy was more concerned about the match between Harry and his 2 teammates and Luna. Ronald played steadily, and even though he didn't have any outstanding performances, he ranked very high and was consistently in the top 4 in every game. Harry has made many brilliant moves, but his performance has fluctuated greatly. He has taken first place, but he has also been eliminated first. Hermione and Ronald had similar points, but Hermione was not as stable as Ronald and her overall ranking kept fluctuating. However, Luna's way of playing surprised Remy. She was the first one to use some of the supermodel chess pieces that Remy deliberately designed as tools. Most players use supermodel pieces as the core and tailor a unique lineup for them. Some people even played with an all-supermodel lineup, but ended up getting beaten. But Luna is not like that. She neither gives those supermodel chess pieces racial bonds nor professional bonds to them. She almost treats them as individual tools and integrates them into her own lineup. If the lineup lacks output, get an over-the-top output piece. If the lineup lacks meat shield, get an over-the-top meat shield. Moreover, the lineups she played were very varied, unlike most of the contestants who spent some time at the beginning and then used the same 2 or 3 fixed lineups over and over again in the middle of the game. Luna should be able to advance to the finals if her luck isn't too bad. Ronald should also be fine. As for Harry and Hermione, it's a little uncertain. After taking a look at the voting on the screen, Remy added another vote in addition to the popularity vote at the request of his classmates, voting for the candidate they think is most likely to win. Among them, Ronald and Luna were both at the top, and those who ranked higher than them were all from higher grades. After today's competition, we will select the top 24 players. Then we will select 8 players through the revival match. When we have 32 players, we will be divided into 4 groups to compete. Half of the top 32 will be eliminated, and the remaining 16 will be divided into 2 groups for the semi-finals. Finally, 8 people will be selected to compete for the top 8 spots, and the 8 eliminated will compete for the remaining 2 spots in the top 10. First, the competition for the last 2 spots will take place, and then the competition for the top 8 spots will take place. Perfect. While silently calculating in his mind, Remy was also paying attention to the competition to understand these people's tactics. In the end, he will also have to participate in the competition. If he, the founder of Wizard Auto Chess, is eliminated first, how can he hold his head up in school from now on? Although as the founder he already knows the game very well, when it comes to games, the players are always the ones who are powerful, not the designers. Unless it's cheating. Should I also use a cheat? It should be more hidden, and if I adjust the probability a little, no one should notice it, right? Or, give myself a guarantee. Thinking of this, Remy's mouth curled up wildly. Chapter 164. Although it is not good to use cheats in games, especially in competitive games, but it does make you stronger after using it. With my status, even if I don't cheat, I will definitely be suspected of cheating as long as I win. Rather than letting them make mistakes, I might as well cheat directly so that they don't violate the 3 precepts of greed, ignorance, and anger. As the saying goes, if I don't go to hell, who will? I'm not using a cheat, I'm using a merit machine. Once you understand something, you can understand 100 things. After Remy figured it out successfully, he prepared a cheat for himself that night. There is no need to open it too high, just add a minimum guarantee during the chess piece refresh after each round to balance the uncertain luck factor. Remy believed that with his level and as long as his luck was not too bad, he would have no problem defeating Principal Dumbledore. The final match was scheduled for the weekend, which was probably the busiest weekend at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. All the students gathered in the auditorium to watch the match, with discussions and cheers ringing in the air. I don't know whether I should say that Harry benefited from the Son of the Plains. His chess skills were obviously not very good, and he was about to be eliminated. However, in the last few games, he had a burst of luck and continuously refreshed the chess pieces he needed. In the end, he successfully made it to the finals. However, Hermione, a truly skilled chess player, was eliminated, and she was eliminated by Harry. Harry was ranked 8th and she was ranked 9th. She did win first place in the competition for 9th and 10th place, but it was too late. Even if she won first place, she would still be 9th place. None of the contestants vying for the top 8 spots were freshmen, and all the freshmen were tragically wiped out, with no one spared. There is a second-grade student named Luna who is favored by Remy and many classmates. There are 2 third-year students, Harry and Ronald. Both of them are favorites to win the championship, and Harry is the biggest dark horse. Many people are waiting to see if he can have another burst of luck. There are also 2 fourth-year students, one from Ravenclaw House and the other from Slytherin House. There are still 2 fifth-year students, one from Gryffindor House and one from Hufflepuff House. A 6th-year student from Slytherin House. The 7th grade class also failed miserably, probably because they were focusing too much on exams and future jobs. After all, it's just a game competition. Even if the rewards are generous, it's just for fun. Compared with the major events in life, it's not worth mentioning at all. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon on the weekend, all contestants had rested and the final officially began. Ronald's start was still as steady as an old dog. He still used his favorite fairy, and he was lucky enough to complete the bond in the 6th round and trigger the fairy's money-stealing racial talent. Remy was a little confused about Harry's start. It seemed like he had 2 lineups and was going to play whichever one came out first, but in the end, he didn't come up with either one. Luna started as a werewolf, one of the strongest races in the early and middle stages, and killed a group of people right at the start. This made Remy feel very interesting, because Luna's name means moon goddess. It is not known whether she chose werewolves simply because she valued the strength of werewolves or out of personal preference. Remy thinks the latter is more likely. After all, although werewolves are one of the strongest races in the early and middle stages, they are not the only one. The finals were still played over 5 rounds and the final ranking was based on the points. When the game entered the 3rd round, Harry, who was ranked last in points, suddenly made a strong effort and drew key pieces in several consecutive rounds to make a direct counterattack. This really excited the audience, and the cheers were getting louder and louder. When Harry won the first place in the 3rd game, the atmosphere in the venue reached a climax. Apart from cursing in his heart, Remy could only sigh that the son of the plains was worthy of being the son of the plains, and his luck was indeed outrageous. But unfortunately, this game is not a game of pure luck, and luck will not always favor a person. After winning first place in the 4th game, when almost all the audience were shouting Harry's name in the 5th game, Harry's luck left him. At the most critical moment, he didn't refresh a single useful chess piece for 4 consecutive rounds and was eliminated on the spot. Harry used his own personal experience to prove a truth, the law of conservation of luck. Harry, who was the first to leave the competition area, was not only depressed but even a little manic. However, he soon came to his senses and started to cheer for Ronald. Ronald was as steady as ever, but after 5 games his total points were not first, or even second. He was only 1 point behind the 2nd place, and the 2nd place was also only 1 point behind the 1st place. The 1st place is Luna from Ravenclaw Academy. Ronald was so depressed because he lost the chess game, and lost to a girl younger than him. Zhao, the werewolves are still strong. Remy doesn't even know how to balance the werewolves. Ronald said sourly. Who said it wasn't true? I just lost too much mana to the werewolves before, otherwise I wouldn't have been eliminated so quickly. Harry said. Forget it. Your lineup in the last game was indeed a bit outrageous. It was not until the 10th round that you just put together 1 bond, while I had already put together 3 sets of bonds by that time. Ronald said. Harry's face turned awkward. Alas, there is nothing I can do. I had bad luck in the last round. Yeah, this game involves a lot of luck, otherwise I would definitely win. Hey, what lineup do you think Remy will use later? Ronald asked. Werewolves, right? Werewolves are indeed very strong. Or giants, not to mention that giants are naturally nemesis of werewolves, they should be stronger than all other races in the midterm. Harry said, feeling a little depressed. In his last game, he was killed so badly by the werewolves in the previous round, so he wanted to switch to the giant, but he couldn't refresh it no matter what, and finally he ended up being the last one and was eliminated. The giant cannot be refreshed in the first 3 rounds, and the chance of it appearing in the first 10 rounds is not high either. As a designer, Remy must know this and it is impossible for him to use the giant at the beginning. Ronald said. What? No giants can be refreshed in the first 3 rounds? Are you sure? Harry asked with wide eyes. Ronald was speechless and thought to himself, how did you make it to the finals if you don't even know this basic common sense? Just as he was about to give Harry a thorough scientific lecture, Professor McGonagall suddenly called Harry's name. It turned out that the award ceremony had already begun while they were chatting. After everyone had received their awards, Headmaster Dumbledore personally presented awards to the top 3 and said a few words of encouragement to each of them. When all the winners received their awards, the layout on the platform in front of the auditorium suddenly changed. The original long table disappeared, replaced by a huge octagonal table. When everyone saw this table, they immediately understood that the exhibition match was about to begin. Chapter 165. As the headmaster, Headmaster Dumbledore was naturally the first to take his seat, followed by Deputy Headmaster McGonagall, then the other 3 deans, and finally Remy and Luna. When everyone was seated, Remy was completely stunned. How come this sweetness is missing 1 person? Why only 7? Shouldn't it be 8? Oh. When I was counting the president, vice presidents, and deans of the 4 colleges, I accidentally counted Professor McGonagall twice, even though he has 2 titles. Remy suddenly realized what was happening and his brain raced to find a remedy. Now everyone's eyes are on him. How about letting the most popular one make up the number? Oh, the most popular one is Luna. Sorry to bother you. Because of her strong strength and the fact that she created a new way of playing, coupled with her outstanding appearance and temperament, Luna successfully counterattacked and became the number 1 on the popularity list last week. Let the second place make up the number? But it was agreed before that only the first place winner would participate in the exhibition match. Changing the words now is no different from exposing oneself. After much thought, Remy set his sights on Harry, who was now ranked second on the popularity list due to his previous Dark Horse performance and his own fame. Originally I had planned to have the number 1 on the popularity list participate in the exhibition match, but I didn't expect everyone's vision to be so accurate, and the number 1 on the popularity list turned out to be the overall champion. Remy stood up again and said with a smile. But we can't play without one person. How about this? Who's the second most popular person? Come over and play with us. As Remy finished his words, everyone looked towards the Gryffindor seats, towards Harry. Ronald on the side was so jealous that his eyes turned green. But there was no way. Although he was good at chess, his image was not outstanding and he was not a celebrity before. This led to his low ranking on the popularity list, and it would never be his turn no matter how many times he played. Even if we use the strength ranking, it would not be his turn, he is third, not second. Pa pa pa. With Headmaster Dumbledore leading the applause, everyone applauded and welcomed Harry to the stage. Harry, not knowing whether he was shy or excited, blushed as he trotted up to the stage, greeted the deans and the headmaster, and then sat down in his seat. There was only one empty spot left. The positions were very particular, with Headmaster Dumbledore sitting in the main seat with Remy and Luna on either side of him, Professor McGonagall and Professor Snape on Remy's right, and Harry on Professor Snape's right. To Harry's right were Professor Flitwick and Professor Sprout, and to Professor Sprout's right was Luna. This forms a circle. However, the table is very large, and it is not easy to easily check other people's lineups. Besides, there is no need for a tilted helmet, the chessboard itself has the function of checking the lineups of players in the same game. After waiting for a while until Harry's expression eased a little, Headmaster Dumbledore asked everyone a few questions and then announced the official start of the competition. The Witcher Auto Chess is a modified version of the auto chess game that Remy remembered, with some changes and some retentions. The Witcher Auto Chess has deleted numerous equipments, which not only makes it easier to update them in a gradual manner in the future, but also greatly reduces the difficulty of getting started and facilitates promotion. However, the wild monster mechanism is retained. The first 3 rounds are all about fighting wild monsters, and then every 3 rounds, the person fighting 1 round of wild monsters will increase the player's gaming experience. At the same time, the boss mechanism is also retained. A boss appears every 10 rounds, each one stronger than the last. The boss in the 30th round is very difficult, and the boss in the 50th round is absolutely impossible for the player to defeat. These settings ensure that the duration of a single round will not be too long, and can also increase the player's gaming experience. Before the first round, there are 2 gold coins that can be used to buy chess pieces. The moment Remy opened the store, his eyes lit up. Wow, I'm really lucky, it seems I don't need to cheat to win. Remy thought as he looked at the 2 goblin chess pieces in the store. The 2 goblins are unique, one is a goblin warrior and the other is a goblin thrower, each costs 1 gold coin. They are very weak and can only fight wild monsters. They will definitely be crushed if they encounter other chess pieces. However, there is a hidden setting in this game, the chess pieces with the largest number of races and professions owned by the chess player will have an increased refresh probability, and the minimum trigger condition is 2. 2 goblins were refreshed in the first round to gain a probability bonus, which was a great start. He decisively decided to buy 2 goblins, and the audience went wild instantly. Why did Remy choose a goblin? Are goblins strong? Why do I remember them being weak? I've played with it, and it's pretty strong, but it's very difficult to shape. Yeah, I almost got it done once, but I got eliminated. Maybe he just picked a random one because the race he wanted wasn't refreshed yet? Anyway, a goblin worth 1 gold is also worth 1 gold, so he won't lose money. How is that possible? Why not choose the goblins over the werewolves? Maybe he doesn't want to play werewolf? If he doesn't want to play werewolf, what kind of werewolf should he choose? It's also very powerful for transition. Amid the discussions among the crowd, the first round had ended and all members passed without any injuries. In fact, you can pass it without any damage as long as you play normally, unless you don't buy chess pieces. However, in order to reduce the difficulty of getting started and the difficulty of production, Remy did not set up a gold coin subsidy for losing streak, so no one would lose on purpose out of idleness. Remy's luck was bad when buying chess pieces in the second round. He didn't get the chess pieces he wanted despite the probability bonus. But it didn't matter. In the second round, he could only put 2 chess pieces on the board. He already had 2, so it didn't matter whether he bought them or not. Seeing that Remy didn't buy anything in the second round, and didn't even buy a giant chess piece, the people below were in an uproar again, and Remy could hear the loud discussions clearly. But Remy didn't care. Instead, he calmly checked other people's starts. The deans of the 4 major colleges started the game fairly well, with relatively strong opening pieces. It was obvious that they must have studied Wizard Auto Chess carefully, or at least watched the game carefully. Harry and Luna are similar, both have at least one strong piece in the early stages. So far it is unclear what lineup they are planning to play, as these pieces can be used as transitions. However, Headmaster Dumbledore's start was a bit strange. He actually bought a goblin as well, which made Remy very suspicious whether Dumbledore wanted to copy his lineup. Are you thinking you're playing chess with the village old man using the chess app on your phone? This game isn't so easy to copy the lineup. While collecting intelligence, the second round of the game ended and Remy still didn't buy anything. But after the third game, when everyone's player level was still level 3 and they were about to play against other players in the next game, Remy used the saved gold coins to upgrade his player level by 1 level, and bought a giant tank chess piece and a human warrior to form a warrior bond, and the giant was a blue chess piece. When Remy put the chess piece on the battlefield, the fourth round began, and his opponent was Headmaster Dumbledore. Chapter 166. 2 goblins worth 1 gold coin and a centaur worth 2 gold coins. Looking at this combination, Remy raised his head and smiled kindly at the confused Headmaster Dumbledore. I let you copy my lineup, and now something bad happened, right? Remy happily clicked on the chessboard to receive the winner's gold coin reward. He looked at the store and was happy again. A blue goblin captain had actually appeared. The goblin team leader is also a warrior, so he can replace the previous human warrior. This will not affect the warrior bond, but also bring together 3 different goblins to unlock the goblin bond. The bond of the goblins is the technology tree. 3 goblins can activate the first bond, the Iron Age. At the moment of activation, the goblins will be transformed into iron weapons and iron armor, with significant improvements in offense and defense. Now they have reached a medium level in offense and defense, and are only lacking in skills. But they attack very fast. At this moment, they cannot be considered to have undergone a qualitative change, and their overall strength is of medium to lower level, but when the 5 bonds are gathered together and they enter the era of firearms, they will enter the first echelon. And if they can unlock 7 bonds and enter the era of heavy firearms, they will instantly become a T0 team of kitchen knives. It's just that it's a bit difficult. There are only 7 different goblin chess pieces in total, and they are a combination of 2 white, 2 blue, 2 purple, and 1 gold. Even if you can get them all, it's not easy to upgrade them. It just so happens that the core of this race is the white goblin thrower and the golden goblin heavy gunner. The white goblin thrower must be upgraded to 3 stars to be able to exert its strength, and the golden goblin heavy gunner also needs 2 stars to truly show its strength. It's pretty good that I have both the warrior and goblin bonds now. Next, I'll see if I can upgrade the goblin thrower to 3 stars as soon as possible. It would be great if Principal Dumbledore didn't mess things up. Remy thought. The number of chess pieces is fixed. Now with Principal Dumbledore competing with him for the goblin lineup, it will become very difficult even if he has the probability bonus provided by racial bonds. And the longer he delays, the harder it will be to complete his lineup. While I was thinking about it, the second match began. In the second match, Remy played against Professor Sprout. Now we can see some clues about the lineup she played. In this game, everyone's chess player level had reached level 4 and they could field 4 chess pieces. She seemed to be preparing to play a meat shield style, and she didn't have any racial bonds, but she put 4 guard class chess pieces on the field, including a giant, 2 humans, and a fairy. Even though he designed the chess piece image, Remy still couldn't help laughing every time he saw the fairy guard pushing the safe as a shield. The guardian class is very strong in the early stages, being both tanky and having strong output, but it can only be defeated when facing Remy's double bond lineup. In the early stages of the game, the output capabilities of warriors and shooters are much higher than those of mages, and the tankiness of warriors is second only to that of guards. Facing the output of Remy's blue giant warriors who have activated the warrior bond, Sprout's guards simply can't stand it. After winning another game, the shop did not refresh the chess pieces Remy needed. Remy bought nothing again, and was sanctioned in the third match. In the third round, he faced Professor Snape, who had a lot of luck. Only 3 rounds had passed, and he had only opened the shop 4 times, but he had managed to collect a 2-star human guard and a 2-star blue human wizard. Not only is he a 2-star blue mage, he's also a poisoner who's good at group attacks. The Poison Master is the core of the poison team. Although the damage he deals is not high, the damage he deals is true damage that ignores defense, and it is a group attack. Of course, it also has obvious shortcomings, that is, it is very fragile and will be killed instantly after encountering an assassin, and its attack speed is very slow. The poison team deals continuous damage, and the longer it drags on, the more obvious the advantage will be. Remy's lineup currently has no ability to break through the defensive positions of 2 1-star guards and 1 2-star guard, and can only watch his pieces being poisoned to death bit by bit. A player with bad luck can't go far. When I refresh the Goblin Assassin, I will let your Poison Master know what it means to be covered with wounds all over the ground. With 2 hums, Remy received the loser's gold coin reward, then opened the store and his eyes suddenly lit up. As he said, the Goblin Assassin really appeared. Not just a Goblin Assassin, but a white Goblin Thrower. After 4 rounds, the Goblins have gathered 4 people. After taking a look at the player level, he found that he still needed 5 experience points to upgrade to level 5, and the next game would be a battle against wild monsters. Remy bought 2 chess pieces and chose not to upgrade the player level first. After defeating the wild monsters, Remy quickly upgraded his chess player level and put the Goblin Assassin into battle. Then he opened the store and waved his fist excitedly. Another Goblin Thrower. Goblin Thrower can be 2 stars. Just after upgrading his star, Remy's joy reached a new level when he saw his next opponent. It was Professor Snape again. This time, God is supporting me in avenging my previous humiliation. Let's do it. As the countdown ended, Remy's second duel with Professor Snape officially began. Professor Snape's lineup had not changed at all from before, except for 2 temporarily useless pieces in the preparation area. On Remy's side, not only has the Goblin Thrower been upgraded to 2 stars, but he has also added another person, who is a special person to restrain the squishy ranged assassin. At the beginning of the game, as soon as the front rows of both sides faced each other, Remy's Goblin Assassin drilled into the ground and came out from behind the poisoner. This is not a skill, but a special effect of the assassin's movement. However, most chess pieces just jump over when they move, and only a few chess pieces have this targeted movement effect. The Goblin Assassin's skill is Backstab, which is a passive skill. It can be triggered as long as the enemy is not attacked head-on. Once triggered, it will increase the attack power, critical hit rate, and critical hit damage. It can be called a magical skill for a basic attack assassin. However, once facing the enemy, you will become a Muggle without any skills. It can be said that risks and benefits coexist. Professor Snape did not arrange guards to protect the poisoner. At the same time, perhaps in order to allow the poisoner to kill people faster, he placed the poisoner closer to the front. This allowed the Goblin Assassin to appear behind the Poison Master smoothly. The short Goblin Assassin swung the shiny little dagger in his hand and stabbed forward, each dagger hitting the poisoner's anus. From time to time, he would hit 1 or 2 red critical hits as if drawing blood. The Poison Master ignored him and only wanted to attack the Goblin Warrior in front of him. In less than 5 seconds, the Poison Master wailed and shattered into rubble. The Goblin Assassin swung the small dagger in his hand and changed his target to a human guard behind him and started stabbing happily again. After the battle ended with victory, Remy looked up at Professor Snape and found that Professor Snape's face was as dark as if he had just fought in person. Chapter 167. The battle continued, and Remy then fought with Harry and Luna once again, and won both times. Remy has been keeping an eye on other people's lineups. Of all the lineups, only Headmaster Dumbledore's lineup makes him unsure. Headmaster Dumbledore changed the lineup to the warrior team. I don't know why a great wizard like him would play with the warrior team. But one has to say that his luck was very good, as he had gathered 3 2-star fighters, one of which was a blue 2-star with a group attack skill, which made Remy tremble with fear. Remy's 1-star assassin couldn't beat any of those 3 warriors. Even if the blue 2-star warrior only needed to use a skill, his little assassin would be dead. But Remy was lucky. He didn't run into Headmaster Dumbledore again until the 10th round when he defeated the boss. By the time the first boss was defeated, Remy had collected 3 2-stars, and upgraded his big meat shield blue giant warrior to 2 stars, and also added a purple Vela mage chess piece Phantom. Phantom skill can charm the opponent's chess piece with the highest attack power. During the duration of the charm, that chess piece will attack its own target. It's a pity that skills cannot be used during the charm period. However, it can interrupt the skills currently being used by the charmed target, which is a perfect counter to Principal Dumbledore's trump card. It can use the Hurricane Swordsman who can perform a whirlwind slash. So when it met Principal Dumbledore in the 13th round, the Hurricane Warrior was interrupted by Remy's Phantom just as it used its skill and started to spin. Trapped in the gentle arms of the man, it could only sadly swing its sword and tearfully take down its teammates. After the authorities were over, Remy's luck exploded again, and he successfully refreshed the purple goblin heavy crossbowman. At the same time, he also upgraded the goblin warrior to 2 stars. He also had 2 goblin assassins, and only one more was needed to upgrade them to 2 stars. The situation was set, and Remy won battle after battle, steadily strengthening his team. While Remy was fighting fiercely here, the spectators watching the fight over there noticed something was wrong. That's not right. Why doesn't Remy use the gold coins to refresh? What's the point of keeping them? Yeah, I've saved so many gold coins, why did it only refresh a few times? This is weird. Remy's chess player level is 2 levels higher than others. Logically, he should have spent a lot of gold coins to upgrade his chess player level, but how can he still have so many gold coins? Oh, right. Even if we don't refresh the store, it's impossible to save so many gold coins, right? Do you guys feel that? Remy adds a lot of gold coins in each game. Oh my god. It's true. Does it mean that if you save gold coins but don't use them, you can still get interest? Shit. This isn't mentioned at all in the game rules. There are hidden settings, I love it. FK it. Geneva. Give me your money back. Too babyish. How could they deliberately hide such an important setting? Give me back. Noticing the noise from the audience, Remy curled his lips in disdain, thinking to himself, this is not a rule I added, who can I blame if you didn't notice it before? Every time you play, you can't wait to refresh the entire lineup in the first 10 rounds, and you never have more than 10 gold coins on hand. How can you blame me for not discovering this hidden rule because of your lack of patience? Besides, this hidden rule is not something that no one has discovered, it's just that people have kept it hidden and not spoken out. Thinking of this, Remy glanced at Ronald and several other students without leaving a trace. The few people Remy glanced at were all people who had saved money in previous competitions, and they should have discovered this hidden rule. It's a pity that they were not able to make good use of the interest earned from saving to realize compound interest, but were instead dragged down by their early saving behavior. Especially Ronald. Remy wanted to laugh when he saw his depressed look. In the previous finals, he always saved up to $30 and stopped there. After a few rounds of interest, he spent it all. It seemed like he wanted to save money but was afraid of being discovered, just like a married woman who was keeping a secret stash of money. The competition continued, and the first person to be eliminated was somewhat beyond Remy's expectations. It was Professor Flitwick. The mage lineup he played was obviously pretty good, but he was eliminated first. Next was Professor Sprout, and then Professor McGonagall was also eliminated. On the contrary, Headmaster Dumbledore, who had a messy lineup at the beginning, still had a high mana value, second only to Remy. Later, Harry's mixed wolf-horse team suffered Professor Snape's poison punishment and was eliminated. But Professor Snape did not hold on for long. He was chopped down by Principal Dumbledore's explosive attack team, which reduced his mana to 15 drops in one wave, and he died on the spot. There were only 3 people left on the field, Remy, Headmaster Dumbledore, and Luna. Remy plays the Goblin Technology team. The lineup has been formed and all members are equipped with heavy weapons. Even the Goblin Assassin has returned from further studies in Syria and is carrying explosives. If they encounter Principal Dumbledore's Cleaver team, all his chess pieces can be evaporated in an instant. And this time, Luna actually transformed into a Vela mage team midway through the game. A 2-star golden gem giant king stood at the front of the lineup like a mountain, and the remaining 8 pieces were all long-handed pieces that were deployed in a scattered manner to ensure that the team would not be wiped out in one wave. Through the Vela bond, all the mage-class chess pieces can release a skill at the beginning of the game. The phantom chess piece can also control Remy's only goblin assassin who can cut the back row at the beginning of the game, which is a perfect counter to Remy's lineup. However, her lineup could not withstand the fierce attack of Principal Dumbledore's team. Principal Dumbledore's team was also scattered, and they were able to successfully cut into her back row every time. Moreover, the warrior's panel plus the defense provided by the warrior bond could ensure that they would not be killed instantly. The three of them formed a circle: Remy, Headmaster Dumbledore, Cluna, and Luna, Remy. It just so happened that Remy and Headmaster Dumbledore had faced off several times in the previous rounds, which resulted in Headmaster Dumbledore's chess player mana being much less than Luna's. Oh, if I had known I would have made some moves earlier. Now I'm screwed. Once Headmaster Dumbledore is eliminated, I'll be beaten to a pulp. With a wry smile, Remy looked at the store and the remaining money and hesitated, wondering whether to activate the plug-in he had set up before. Up to now he has not used any plug-ins, but if he activates the plug-ins now, his remaining 60 gold coins will be enough to upgrade all the remaining chess pieces to 3 stars. Once all are upgraded to 3 stars, and by adjusting the positions with the advantage of the panel, I will definitely be able to compete with Luna. But after thinking about it for a few seconds, Remy gave up. There is no sense of accomplishment in winning a girl by cheating. Besides, there are so many people watching now. If his luck suddenly explodes at the last critical moment, he will be scolded to death by the audience even if he wins. After playing the last game honestly, Remy stood up and led the applause as he watched his chess pieces evaporate again in an instant. The entire auditorium was filled with deafening applause and shouts. Chapter 168. Congratulations, you won. In response to the congratulations, Luna smiled faintly and followed Remy to the stage to accept the audience's applause together with the professors. This was a wonderful game. Everyone played very well and everyone had a brilliant performance, even the one who was eliminated first. Especially Headmaster Dumbledore and Professor Snape. No one expected that Principal Dumbledore, who had a terrible start, could actually turn his fate around and persevere to the end. I believe that after tonight, there will be another discussion at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, discussing the true strength of Principal Dumbledore and whether he could have won the final victory if Principal Dumbledore had not played around at the beginning. The unconventional poison team lineup played by Professor Snape was even more eye-catching. The lineup he played was quite different from the poison teams that had appeared in previous games. His lineup brought the role of the poisoner to the extreme, and could be said to have created a new lineup. It was also quite strong, but it was easy to be targeted. Remy has heard many people discussing how to further improve it, to improve it into an ultimate torture flow that is not so easy to be targeted, and strive to make every round a bladder game to torture other players to death. After waiting for a while until the discussions and cheers died down, Remy walked to the front and put his hands together to signal everyone to be quiet. To be honest, today was a little beyond my expectations. I thought I could easily win the championship, especially after seeing several players who found that saving money had interest were eliminated, said Remy. After getting official certification from Remy, confirming that this hidden rule really exists, the audience in the audience immediately exclaimed and discussed. After waiting a little while, until they were quiet again, Remy continued. But I didn't expect that I, the founder of Wizard Auto Chess, would lose, and lose so miserably. Luna, you are amazing. Amid the thunderous applause, Luna smiled faintly. I thought I could easily win the championship at first, so I didn't set any rewards for this exhibition match. But now that I've lost, it would seem a bit stingy of me if I don't give a little reward to the person who beat me, the founder. Hearing Remy say this, the audience first burst into laughter, and then became excited, much more excited than Luna, as if they were going to receive a prize. How about this, Luna, as a reward for you winning the founder's tribe, I can grant you a wish. Remy turned to look at Luna and said, any wish will do. Wish? Any wish is okay? Luna's eyes lit up. I want friends, true friends, said Luna. Remy was stunned for a moment. This wish, he can't do it. He couldn't force others to be friends with Luna, and even if he used some means to influence others' minds, that couldn't be considered sincerity. However, just when Remy was stunned, there was a sudden burst of shouting from the audience. They all wanted to be friends with Luna, both men and women. Facing the cheers from the audience, Luna smiled and nodded continuously in response, laughing happily. It seems that you don't need my help to fulfill this wish. You have already fulfilled it yourself. Remy said with a smile, how about changing to another one? Do you want a boyfriend? I can introduce myself to you, ba. Shameless. Luna the fairy is mine. Wait, these two weren't together before. Ha ha ha, my chance has come. Luna. I love you. Me, choose me, I can do it. Don't choose them, choose me. So Remy is single too. Remy, I love you. Oh my god, sister, even though Remy is handsome, you can't just look at his appearance when choosing a boyfriend. He was caught by the Ministry of Magic. Ah, I don't care, I just like handsome ones. Having accidentally gotten himself into trouble, Remy shook his head and sighed helplessly, thinking that being handsome really does allow one to do whatever he wants. Just as he was indulging himself in self-admiration, Remy was stunned by a gentle touch on his face. Boo! At this moment, the entire auditorium was completely silent as if time had stopped. No one expected Luna to be so bold that she kissed Remy on her own initiative in front of everyone, in front of the deans of the 4 colleges and the president. Pa, it's great to be young. Headmaster Dumbledore said while applauding, which immediately attracted the dissatisfied look of Professor McGonagall. Is this the kind of thing that a principal should take the lead in expressing emotion about in such an occasion? Do you still want the school's atmosphere? However, Headmaster Dumbledore was unaware of it, and following his lead, the others came to their senses and began to applaud. Remy turned his head to look at Luna, and saw that although her face remained calm, her eyes revealed an unconcealable nervousness and anticipation. Without saying a word, Remy held Luna in his arms and slowly lowered his head. Ahem. The sudden familiar cough and sharp gaze did not interrupt Remy's spell casting, nor did it interrupt the thunderous boos from the audience. This moment belongs to both of them. Using her eyes to stop Harry from applauding, after Remy disappeared in a ball of blue flame holding Luna, Professor McGonagall immediately stepped forward and severely criticized the incident that had just happened and was detrimental to the school's morale. However, judging from the reactions of the audience, they did not take her words to heart. Instead, many of them had their sweethearts in their eyes. There will probably be many more incidents today that damage the school's morale. On the other side, in a ball of firelight, 2 people hugging each other tightly appeared on a tree outside the castle. They hugged each other for a long time under the moonlight before slowly separating. They smiled at each other, and neither of them spoke. Sitting on the tree branch hugging each other, the 2 admired the bright moon in the sky, the beautiful Hogwarts castle under the moonlight, and each other. The moonlight shone through the leaves and onto their faces, making them a little mottled, allowing them to see each other more clearly from different angles. The breeze blew, making the leaves rustle, playing a unique melody. When the moon, with the help of the breeze, pulled a thick cloud to cover itself, the 2 people smiled at each other under the moonlight and then hugged each other again, as naturally as if it was supposed to be so. The 2 did not separate until a red squirrel came from nowhere and jumped onto Remy's shoulder without any sense of romance. The moonlight shone once again, shining on Luna's face, who was slightly out of breath. The blush on her face seemed redder than that of a red squirrel against her fair skin. Remy pinched the red squirrel's neck and lifted it in front of him, then gave it a slap on the head in annoyance. Just as he was about to hit it for the second time, Luna put her hand up to protect its little head, and reached out to take the red squirrel and put it on her shoulder. She stood up, stretched out her hands to keep her balance, and walked step by step along the branches into the moonlight. Chapter 169. Who sent the brocade letter from the clouds? When the eagle returns, the moon is full in the west building. For a student who has just started a relationship, there is probably nothing more tormenting than a holiday, especially when the winter holiday comes the day after he or she starts dating. Bored Remy could only sit alone in the west suburb tower, in the heavy snow, happily eating hot pot. There is no worry that can't be solved by a hot pot meal. If there is, then have 2 meals. Eating train and singing pot, life is so sweet and beautiful. Long Johns, stop eating, and get up sweetly. That our world needs to have more love every day, you and I both know that. Let's start here and now, so hold me close, don't let go of me. I'm bewitched by you. And I want you, come and hold me now. Remy was singing happily when suddenly, a burst of applause interrupted his performance. I used to think love songs were either gentle and melodious or low and sad, or they had to be sung at the top of their lungs. I never thought love songs could be performed so vigorously. It's amazing. Professor Lupin said while applauding. Love song. Harry was stunned. Professor Lupin, are you sure Remy was singing a love song and not a war song? Professor Lupin nodded. Of course I am sure. I also know some Swedish. Swedish? Harry suddenly realized and thought, no wonder I couldn't understand what Remy was singing. That's great, Remy, I didn't expect you could speak Swedish. How many languages do you know? Harry asked. Quite a lot depending on the situation, I can also apply for off-field assistance to patch myself up. Shaking his head, Remy played with the microphone in his hand while looking at Professor Lupin with amusement. I didn't expect that Professor Lupin actually knows Swedish. Are you a wolf from the north? Remy asked. Looking into Remy's eyes, Lupin's pupils shrank suddenly, and then he smiled bitterly. You figured it out? Professor Lupin asked. When did you figure it out? I've seen that a long time ago. Do you want to eat hot pot? As Remy asked, he raised his hand and motioned for the two to sit down. Where his finger pointed, 2 stone benches were moved over through the transfer spell for the two to sit down. What did you see? What are you talking about? Harry asked puzzledly after sitting down. Don't worry about the details, Harry. What's the matter with you coming to see me? Don't tell me you two were just wandering around with nothing to do and happened to come to me. Remy said. As he spoke, Remy used his superb knife skills and a small device similar to a peeler to cut a large piece of lamb that looked like it was frozen into slices of lamb rolls as thin as cicada wings. The mutton roll fell into the boiling pot, and after just a few rolls, it began to emit a rich meaty aroma. The aroma made Professor Lupin and Harry swallow their saliva involuntarily. Oh yes, that's right. Professor Lupin taught me a magic specifically for dealing with dementors. I want to ask you for a favor and find a dementor for me to try it out. Don't worry, Professor Lupin said that this magic will only drive away dementors, not hurt them. Harry said. Remy didn't react after Harry finished speaking, but Professor Lupin next to him was stunned. Harry, you said before that you wanted Remy to help you practice the Patronus charm. Do you want him to help you catch dementors? No. That's too dangerous. Professor Lupin said. It's okay, it's not dangerous at all. Those dementors obey Remy's orders, right? Remy. Harry said proudly. If someone didn't know him, they might think he was talking about himself. I can't say it's all of them. There are only a few who take my orders directly. The other dementors are their subordinates, but they are not my subordinates. The vassal of my vassal is not my vassal. Do you understand? Remy asked. It's a bit confusing. Just tell me directly whether you can help me with this. Harry said after thinking for a while. It's not a big deal. Kai-Hu Zhao, go and call 2 strong dementors to come and keep Mr. Potter company. Remy said to Kai-Hu Zhao, who was happily eating meat on the shelf beside him. Harry. I was a kid, I didn't understand anything. Cool. It saluted Remy, and suddenly stretched out its huge wings, which scared Harry. When the Long Johns fully spread its wings, its huge wingspan even scared Professor Lupin. My goodness, what do you usually feed it? It's grown too big. Professor Lupin exclaimed. It's okay. It can barely lift me now, but it can't carry me to fly. Remy said, and that's only for now. I feel like I've been growing rapidly recently. If it's still like this for a while, I'm afraid it won't even be able to lift me. Lupin. Harry. What a bird. You're too greedy. My Hedwig is probably not even 1/3 of its size. Harry said. But your Hedwig is so pretty. Remy said, I've been wondering whether to change the skin of my Long Johns. It's winter now, and it will look great in photos if I change it to a white skin. You'd better not do that. It would be terrible if you damage your Long Johns. If you want to take pictures, I can lend you Hedwig. Harry quickly dissuaded him. That's not necessary. By the way, I was too busy some time ago and forgot to ask you, have you found Sirius? Remy asked. Glancing at Professor Lupin beside him, Harry remained silent. Sirius is a wanted criminal by the Ministry of Magic, and he is likely coming for Harry. It is too dangerous for Harry to face him. Professor Lupin said. Remy frowned when he heard Professor Lupin's words. Didn't Professor Lupin come to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry in collusion with Headmaster Dumbledore in advance? Peter Pettigrew has been arrested, and the truth of what happened back then has been revealed. Hasn't Headmaster Dumbledore informed Professor Lupin yet? He didn't tell Professor Lupin, and Harry didn't tell him either? Are you doubting Professor Lupin? Or are you worried that Sirius has become a psychopath because he's been locked up in Azkaban for too long? After thinking about it, the more Remy thought about it, the more troublesome it seemed. Just at this moment, with a loud eagle cry, Long Johns came back with 2 Dementors, scaring Professor Lupin so much that he quickly stood up and protected Harry behind him. You guys are really working hard. You guys just practice magic here. I'll go and get Sirius. Remy stood up and said. Harry's eyes lit up. Do you know where Sirius is? I don't know, but it's just finding someone. It's not difficult. After saying that, in front of the shocked gazes of Harry and Professor Lupin, a ball of white light that they were very familiar with appeared around Remy. Patronus charm! Harry exclaimed and was about to ask Remy when he learned it, but suddenly realized something was wrong. The ball of light was seen getting bigger and thinner, and in the blink of an eye it transformed into a giant white python that swallowed the sky. No, that's not right, it's not a python, it's a dragon. The kind of Hualong in Chinatown. Chapter 170. Deer antlers, lion head, cow ears, crocodile mouth, turtle neck, snake body, fish scales, tiger paws, eagle claws, and goldfish tail. His whole body is filled with divine light, and he is awe-inspiring without even being angry. Looking at the dragon flying in the air, Harry and Professor Lupin were stunned. This feeling, it must be the Patronus charm. But the Patronus charm alone certainly can't do this. It must have been integrated with transfiguration. The only transfiguration that can be performed on oneself without a wand, is the animagus. But how is this possible? How is it possible to fuse 2 highest-level magics, or 2 completely unrelated magics? Lupin stared at the dragon in a daze, with shock and confusion in his eyes. He couldn't figure out how Remy did it. The more he thought about it, the more it seemed impossible. There wasn't even the slightest possibility. Especially, Remy is only a 3rd-grade student. A 3rd-year student can be called a genius if he can learn either the animagus or the Patronus charm, let alone create his own magic. A 3rd-grade student combined 2 highest-level magics to create a completely new magic. If anyone told others about this, they would definitely think he was crazy. You guys take your time playing here, I'll be back soon. Remy said. The deep voice woke them up like thunder. Harry looked at Remy with great envy and nodded vigorously. That's so cool. Harry said, be careful, you'd better not hurt him. Oh? Are you more worried about me or him? Remy asked. Even Voldemort can't hurt you, I don't think there's any need to worry about your safety, and you look just like the final boss in a movie or TV show now. Harry said. I'm not a villain. Pursing his lips, Remy controlled his body to circle in the air and disappeared in the wind and snow. Harry didn't breathe a sigh of relief until Remy's figure completely disappeared. That's so cool. I must ask Remy to teach me later. I hope I can learn this cool magic. Harry murmured. Professor Lupin forced a smile, but now he's gone, what about these 2 Dementors? Will they still be obedient? Maybe. Harry blinked, let me try. Taking a deep breath, Harry stepped out from behind Professor Lupin and walked in front of one of the Dementors. Remy asked you to come and practice the Patronus charm with me, you guys, understand? Harry asked. The 2 Dementors looked at each other, then turned their heads to look at Long Johns who had started eating meat again, and then nodded to Harry. Seeing this, Harry breathed a sigh of relief, then excitedly ordered the Dementors to stand aside and serve as living targets for him to practice the Patronus charm. The 2 Dementors were very obedient. They stood wherever they were told and posed however they were told. Professor Lupin, who was watching from the side, was amazed and at the same time even more confused. Who is this Remy? Not only can he invent super high-level magic at such a young age, he can even command Dementors. Not to mention a child, even legendary wizards like Voldemort and Dumbledore might not be able to accomplish this, right? And Harry, why did you say before that even Voldemort couldn't hurt Remy? Could it be that Remy had been attacked by Voldemort before? Professor Lupin asked while Harry was resting. Yes, Remy is a monster. He was able to withstand Voldemort's killing curse head-on without any damage. It was so outrageous that I once doubted whether he was not a human being at all. Harry said. Have you really encountered this? When did it happen? Why have I never heard of it? Professor Lupin continued to ask. 2 years, no, about 1.5 years ago, when we were in our first year. Harry said, at that time, Voldemort sneaked into Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry and tried to steal the Philosopher's Stone. Remy and I told Professor Lupin roughly what happened in the first grade, and the more Professor Lupin listened, the more frightened he became. He was actually the direct disciple of the legendary alchemist Nicholas Flamel. In his first year, he brought a lot of guns to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and took Harry and others with him to shoot at Voldemort with guns. In the end, he even hit Voldemort with a club despite Voldemort's killing curse? Are all the freshmen nowadays so tough? Is it because I haven't been out for so long that I can't keep up with the times, or is it that Harry is making up stories? But can such a bizarre story really be made up by human imagination? It's bizarre, isn't it? I guess the Ministry of Magic didn't make it public because they thought it was too bizarre. Harry said with emotion. After that, he picked up his wand, adjusted his state, and practiced the Patronus charm on the two targets again. After continuous practice, he can now push the Dementors back a certain distance. Professor Lupin fell into deep thought, and began to worry about Sirius. Such a tough and powerful man can even fly. If Remy really finds Sirius, Sirius will not even have the hope of escaping, let alone resisting. I hope Sirius is hiding well enough and nothing will happen. After praying silently, Professor Lupin suddenly noticed that Harry's wand-waving posture was not right. He stood up and walked over to correct Harry when suddenly, accompanied by a gust of wind, a large cloud of snow rushed into the building. Remy is back, and he's not alone, he's back as a dragon, with a human in his giant claws. Sirius Black. Even though they hadn't seen each other for many years, Professor Lupin still recognized him at the first sight. Subconsciously, Professor Lupin held his wand and protected Harry behind him. Sirius in Remy's claws seemed to recognize Lupin. He had been struggling all the way, but suddenly he stopped. He looked at Lupin and communicated with Professor Lupin frantically with his eyes. However, Professor Lupin kept a straight face until Remy shrank and took Sirius into the tower. Until the two Dementors took over and controlled Sirius, he still remained in front of Harry, and did not move at all. This made Remy, who had regained his human form, a little confused. He thought of a possibility. Maybe Professor Lupin came to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry not to help Sirius, but to protect Harry. Maybe it wasn't until he found out that Peter Pettigrew was not dead that he realized everything and decided to help Sirius. Harry, do you have anything to say to him? If not, I'll have them take him away. Remy said. Harry. Sirius raised his head suddenly and even wanted to get up, but he couldn't resist at all with two Dementors holding him down. Harry? Are you Harry? James' son? Sirius asked. It's me. Harry nodded emphatically and stepped forward. Just then, a hand suddenly stopped him again. It's Professor Lupin. Chapter 171. After all, was this just an act, or did Professor Lupin and Sirius have no previous contact? Looking at Professor Lupin who stopped Harry, Remy thought silently while eating mutton. After thinking for 5 seconds, the meat was cooked. Forget it. Why should I think so much? I'm not a detective. Isn't it enough to just know that these two people are good people? Ding ding ding, tapping the cauldron, Remy looked at Harry and said, Give me an answer, Harry. Don't just talk. Sirius, you broke out of prison and are coming to find me? I am Harry, Harry Potter. Harry asked. Sirius raised his head and looked at Harry lovingly, but just like Harry just now, he just opened his mouth but said nothing. Remy was speechless after watching it. Okay, you guys just take your time here. Putting down his chopsticks, Remy clapped his hands and walked towards the guardrail. Kaihoku next to him immediately stopped eating and spread his wings. When Remy jumped up on the guardrail, Long John's glided over and stretched out its claws to Remy in time. The next moment, with the cry of an eagle, Remy, along with his autumn trousers, fell into the snow pile with a bang. Zhao! You shouldn't have jumped. Remy crawled out of the snow pile cursing and went to check the condition of his long johns first. Fortunately, it was not injured. It walked around everywhere with its long johns on, and its huge body hovered over Remy's head just enough to shield him from some of the wind and snow. I went to the woods and found the red squirrel to see how it was doing. It turned out that there was not only one red squirrel in its nest, but also a much smaller baby squirrel. Remy, who was accidentally fed a mouthful of rat food, immediately cut a piece of wood to block the tree hole to prevent them from catching a cold. Remy, who was sweating all over, pushed the wood into the tree hole with great force, but he felt extremely relaxed both physically and mentally. I have protected 2 little animals today. I am so blessed. I praise Namo Gatling Bodhisattva. After bowing 3 times, Remy left in a leisurely manner, despite the crazy scratching sounds coming from inside. After leaving the grove, Remy went to visit the lonely old man Hagrid. In the windy and snowy weather, he was alone in his cabin, drinking unconsciously. Fortunately, his house had long been replaced with a stone one, otherwise, with the strong fire in the room, it would have caught fire long ago. After finally waking Hagrid up and giving him 2 servings of hot pot base, Remy left the cabin and entered the Forbidden Forest. Hagrid would not come to stop him now, not only because it was holiday, but more importantly because his mind was still not clear. When Remy walked out of the cabin and closed the door, he heard a dull thump from inside. He knew without thinking that Hagrid must have fallen down again. After a casual stroll in the Forbidden Forest, Remy came to the main peak of Dragon Nest to visit Deathwing. Grindelwald often came to see it, but today Grindelwald did not come. I don't know if he was staying in the castle to keep warm with Headmaster Dumbledore. When Remy arrived, Deathwing was sleeping with his 4 legs up in the air like a dead pig. Remy kicked him twice but failed to wake him up. He didn't know if he was hibernating. Remy was also kind enough to help it close the door, and having done another good deed, he went to the next location contentedly. This time he was going to be somewhere warmer, underground. The underground world has changed a lot after more than half a year of renovation, but it is still a long way from the finished product that Remy planned at the beginning of the school year, so he has to continue the renovation. Fortunately, he has now mastered wandless casting and the ability to fly. Moving huge rocks is as easy as turning on the creative mode in Minecraft. Remy was busy until 6 o'clock in the evening. He stopped working on time and returned to Hogwarts Castle for dinner. Then he went to the laboratory to work until 10 o'clock. After 10 o'clock, he returned to the dormitory on time to go to bed. The entire holiday was like this, a regular and hipster lifestyle. A week before the end of the holiday, Harry found Remy and excitedly told Remy that Sirius had been declared not guilty and released. He also said that Sirius hoped to treat Remy to a meal at his home. Since it was during the holidays and wouldn't interfere with anything, Remy agreed. However, when he arrived, he found out that Sirius had invited more than just him. Professor Lupin, Headmaster Dumbledore, and some old members of the Order of the Phoenix were also there. Although it was a little noisy due to the large number of people, the food was indeed delicious and Remy was quite satisfied with it. After the dinner, Remy heard Harry curiously asking Sirius about the Professor of the Defense Against the Dark Arts class next year, asking him if he was interested in taking over the position of the Defense Against the Dark Arts professor at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry next year. This question was asked in front of Professor Lupin, which made Remy very curious about what Professor Lupin was thinking at the time. Was he thinking, isn't this a kind of NTR? Unfortunately, this was just Remy's guess. Professor Lupin himself did not make any statement. Instead, Sirius apologized to Harry after thinking for a few seconds and said that he had no intention of becoming a professor. The reason he gave was that he had spent too long in Azkaban prison, causing his magical skills to decline significantly and making him unqualified to be a professor at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Apart from the small episode of the dinner party, Remy resumed his previous regular life after returning, and each day was both monotonous and fulfilling. Until the end of the holiday, all the students and teachers returned to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and the castle became lively again. After the dinner on the first night of school, Remy found Luna who had returned from vacation and called her. "Luna, I'll take you to a fun place, do you want to go?" Remy asked. The classmates around immediately started to make noises, many of them kept making faces at Remy, and some even whistled, which made Remy roll his eyes in annoyance. Luna, on the other hand, remained calm, smiled and nodded, then followed Remy out of the auditorium. Taking Luna all the way to the laboratory, Remy let Luna enter the door first, and then covered her eyes with his hands. "Close your eyes and don't peek. I have a surprise for you." "Okay. Come on, move forward, slowly." Remy continued to command Luna to move forward, directing the Luna who couldn't see the road to move forward step by step, until she finally walked into the portal and came to another world. Luna continued to move forward without any hesitation or question, following Remy's instructions completely. When they reached the designated position, Remy took a deep breath and slowly released his hands that were covering Luna's eyes, allowing her to slowly open her eyes. All she could see was darkness, which made Luna a little confused. She turned her head and looked at Remy in confusion. Don't be anxious, take a closer look now. Remy said softly. Luna turned her head and looked again, only to see tiny dots of starlight slowly appearing in the darkness. Beautiful planets slowly emerged and rotated freely. Meteors streaked across the sky, lighting up the starry sky. There is no need to look up at the starry sky, because they are in it. Chapter 172. The starry sky room, starry sky ceiling and so on are all weak compared to this starry sky. Being in this starry sky, you can not only see beautiful planets, but also the colorful wonders of the universe, and you can see it from a 360-degree angle. You can appreciate the magnificence of supernova explosions, the depth of black holes, the rotation of star rings, and the flow of galaxies. It is like a dream, making people unconsciously indulge in it and linger on. Luna opened her eyes wide and admired the starry sky that was difficult to describe in words. From time to time, she stretched out her hands to catch a planet or moved with them. She chased the light, traveled through the stars, and ran as much as she could. Remy had an idea and raised his hand to summon a planet and pressed it lightly. Suddenly, melodious music sounded in the starry sky. Luna stopped, turned around and looked at Remy curiously. She watched him hold a planet in his hand and slap it on his body to change into a formal suit. She watched him hold another planet in his hand and bow to her. She ran to Remy with a cheerful step and took the planet. The moment she took the planet, a soft white light emanated from her body. The wizard robe on her body changed rapidly from top to bottom, and in the blink of an eye it turned into a gradient evening dress. It is the paid costume in the game, Secret Starry Sky. She stretched out her hand and a planet next to her turned into a full-length mirror. Luna immediately turned to look at herself in the mirror, watched Remy pull out the magic wand from her hair, and watched Remy carefully comb her long golden hair. "My dear girl, can I invite you to dance?" Remy asked softly. Luna turned around with a smile on her face, and the two of them held hands, swaying slowly to the melodious music. From the simplest one-star dance to the two-star dance, and from the two-star dance to the three-star dance. When they were dancing to the three-star dance, Remy was already having trouble keeping up. When it came to the four-star dance, Remy was completely flustered and dancing in a panic, causing Luna to burst into laughter like a silver bell. When the background music switched to 5 stars, Remy could only step aside and admire Luna's solo dance in the starry sky. The planets rotated and jumped along with Luna, and some were knocked aside by her. Some planets turned into meteors and flew into the endless space, while others collided with another planet, bursting into brilliant fireworks. Until the last dance song ended, Luna, who was a little tired after dancing all the time, returned to Remy and sat back to back with Remy on the same planet to rest and continue to appreciate the beautiful starry sky. Only after both of their clothes changed back to their previous wizard robes did Remy take Luna out of the starry sky room and onto a mine cart. After coming out of such a high-end place, they rode in a very low-end mine cart, which really lowered their status. However, neither of them cared, and even Luna was still enthusiastic. We rode all the way to another room. This room is completely different from the previous ones. It is very bright, and the surroundings and the ground are made of sand and stone, which looks a bit rough. The room was not big. There was a glass display cabinet on the wall next to the door, which contained different types of guns and grenades. "I'm planning a shooting competition at school, and here's one of the maps, Pyramid." As he spoke, Remy operated the display cabinet next to him twice, and then picked up the AK-47 that suddenly appeared from the table next to him. "The guns here are all specially made. The bullets they fire will not hurt people. They will just cover them in paint, which will disappear automatically in half an hour." Bang bang bang. After firing 3 shots in a row to show Luna that what he said was true, Remy took out a necklace from his pocket and then handed the AK-47 to Luna. "And if you wear this necklace, you can remove the paint from your body just by walking out of this room." Remy said, "You can shoot me. I'll show you." Luna nodded, and after a brief exploration, she imitated Remy's previous actions, raised the gun, aimed at Remy, and fired 3 shots. The actual recoil startled her, and caused her to only hit Remy with 1 shot. But this was enough for Remy to demonstrate the necklace effect to her. Remy put on the necklace, opened the door and walked out. When she came back, the green paint on her body had disappeared, but the green paint left by Remy's previous gun test was still on the opposite wall. "How about it? Do you want to play?" Remy asked. "How do we play?" Luna asked. "Of course, we're going to have a competition, follow me." Watching Remy walk towards the passage ahead, Luna hurried to follow. After walking through an L-shaped passage, the view suddenly opens up. A desert ruin appeared before my eyes, with various building remains made of sand and stone scattered on it, including stone walls, stone pillars, and collapsed walls. They crisscrossed with each other, forming a map that looked very complicated. At the end of the site was a pyramid, and when Luna turned around, she suddenly found that there was also a pyramid behind them. They were just in the pyramid. The difference is that there is a blue flag flying on the pyramid at the end, while there is a red flag flying on the pyramid behind them. The red and blue sides of this map each have a birth point, which is the pyramid behind us. In the official game, both sides will choose weapons and start the game there. And this necklace also has another function, which is to record the hits. It can give different scores based on the locations of the hits. When the score reaches 100, it will automatically start to teleport the wearer to the birth point bound in advance and refresh the paint on that person's body. Remy explained to Luna. In fact, this necklace is equivalent to a shield. Once the attack exceeds the damage limit, it will automatically activate and teleport the person away. Remy just said it was a score to prevent Luna from attacking others because she couldn't accept it, but Remy soon found that he was overthinking it. When he finished explaining to Luna, Luna raised her gun without saying a word and fired a volley of bullets, killing Remy on the spot. Even after being resurrected, Remy was still confused. He found Luna again and explained to her the usage of different firearms and the grenade bag. Remy took out a necklace and helped Luna put it on. He also assisted her in binding the resurrection point to the red side. He then ran to the blue side to rebind the resurrection point. In order to teach Luna better, Remy specially prepared a walkie-talkie headset and bought only a small pistol. Luna, have you bought your weapons? I have already bought them. I will go out to find you now. You better be careful. Da-da-da-da-da. Looking at the familiar resurrection point, Remy, who should have already walked out of the preparation area, fell silent for a moment. Luna's learning ability seems to be a little too good. Chapter 173. I was actually ambushed by a gun novice? How can this be tolerated? This is absolutely intolerable. Holding his breath, Remy used the legendary silent step with the pistol to approach the door step by step. Remy paused at the door, then leaned half of his body out and immediately retracted it. After doing this 3 times and making sure that Luna was not continuing her ambush, Remy carefully stuck out half of his face. Humph, not ambushing me will be your biggest mistake. Next, there will be a massacre. Remy casually twirled the pistol, raised the corners of his mouth to reveal a wicked smile, and walked out of the birth point. Keeping his eyes and ears open, Remy held the pistols in both hands, arms stretched out, and approached a huge rock in front of him little by little. Remy! Ah! The sudden sound startled Remy. Before he could turn around, he saw the familiar ceiling again following a burst of dense gunfire. Remy! Who led Luna astray? How could my Luna be so stupid? I feel so cold and angry, I want to calm down. After taking deep breaths for a long time, Remy finally managed to calm his inner anxiety. That shouldn't be the case. I clearly didn't teach Luna any of the 6th Master's secrets, so why did Luna change her job to 6th Master? It must be Professor Snape who taught my Luna bad things. When faced with a dilemma about who to blame, Remy learned from Harry and put the blame on Professor Snape. Remy adjusted his mindset and bought a new gun. This time it was still a small pistol, but this time, Remy decided to be serious. After buying the gun, Remy went out and, as usual, made 3 feints to make sure there was no one in front of him. He took a deep breath, then lunged forward and rolled over, hiding behind a rock. Bang bang bang! He stretched out his hand and fired 3 blind shots towards the door frame. Remy quickly leaned over to look. There was a bulge above the door that was barely big enough for a person to stand on. That place was very suitable for Lao Lu to ambush, but there was no one there at the moment. Did you run away? Pretty smart. Muttering, Remy stood up and moved slowly along a larger stone behind him while listening carefully to the sound of his footsteps. But nothing was heard. Recalling the map, Remy climbed up a half-person high stone quietly, and then climbed up to a larger stone right behind it through this stone. Looking at Luna squatting in the corner on the other side of the stone and staring intently at the front, and then looking at the gun in his hand, Remy hesitated. Isn't it a bit too cruel? Even though you won't get hurt, it wouldn't be good if you get scared. Thinking of this, Remy gave up the sneak attack and instead used a move of justice from the sky. Remy leaped forward, and before Luna could react, he grabbed Luna's right hand to stop her from shooting, and held the gun against her neck with the other hand. "This time, you lose," Remy said to Luna, who was still in shock. Luna came back to her senses and smiled faintly. In Remy's surprised gaze, she suddenly raised her head and kissed Remy. "Well, is this my reward for winning against you?" Remy asked with some lingering feeling. "No, this is my gift to comfort you," Luna said. "Comfort? Do you mean what happened just now?" "That was me letting you," Remy asked. "I mean this time." "This time?" "This time, wait, in your hand, I'm Chow." Bang! Accompanied by a loud noise, Remy saw the familiar ceiling again. At this moment, Remy's head was confused and full of question marks. When did Luna buy the grenade? Why did she buy the grenade? Who taught her to use the face-to-face bomb technique? Is this really the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry instead of the Syrian Suicide Bomber Training Center? That must have been taught by that old Snape. "I'll come after you later." With a sharp spit, Remy walked out of the spawn point without buying any guns. He wanted to talk to Luna and tell her that what she had just done was wrong. However, as soon as he walked out of the door, Remy saw Luna standing behind a stone and looking at him indifferently. On the stone in front of her was a cannon, a Barrett heavy anti-material sniper rifle. Hee day. Bang! The distance was less than 5 meters, and the gun was placed on a rock, so the bullet hit Remy hard and killed him instantly. Remy returned to the birth point and looked up at the ceiling at a 45-degree angle, feeling extremely sad. He was unexpectedly killed in seconds by his own firearms, and by Luna several times in a row. "I asked the heaven with tears in my eyes, but I was speechless. Well, I'll have some fun with you for once." After buying another small pistol and 5 magazines, Remy turned on the rampage mode and rushed forward, moving swiftly as he rushed. Bang! The shot missed, and while Luna was aiming again, Remy raised his gun and pointed it at Luna, emptying the magazine in 2 seconds. With one move, Luna was taken away. Remy replaced the magazine with a new one and continued to rush forward without stopping. He wants to push the battle line forward, at least to the center line, and preferably to the door of the opponent's birth point. After running all the way to the center line, Remy felt that the time was about right, so he hid behind a rock and waited quietly. Thump thump thump. Accompanied by the sound of footsteps approaching from afar, Remy listened to the sound and got ready. The moment Luna ran past the stone, Remy could almost have put the gun to her. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. 5 consecutive shots sent Luna away again. Want to try out different guns? Looking at the Chicago typewriter that automatically moved back to the display cabinet after leaving the player's hands, Remy nodded thoughtfully. Remy replaced the magazine again and continued to move forward. He only stopped when he reached a stone at the entrance of the birth point. After waiting for about 10 seconds, Remy heard the sound of footsteps and something moved his mind. Here we come. Remy held his breath and was about to attack Luna again, when suddenly, he was startled by a sound like the ring of a can being pulled open. SS. Whoosh SS. Whoosh. Looking at the grenades flying over his head, Remy was speechless. Luna, when did you change your job to a bomber? Can you please wake up? Where has the quiet, intelligent, beautiful, generous, calm, lively and lovely you gone? Just when Remy was feeling sad, suddenly, he felt a pain in his head. Boom, ouch. After subconsciously covering his head, Remy suddenly realized that something was wrong. What hit my head? What else could hit me on the head at this moment? Just as I figured it out, before Remy could take a step, there was a loud bang and Remy appeared at the birth point again. Grenade cleaning is fine, but it's my fault. I only limited each grenade bag to a maximum of 3 grenades, but forgot to limit the number of grenade bags that can be purchased. But it's not bad. Just treat it as a test to find bugs. Remy took a deep breath, his mentality had changed, he bought a small pistol and charged towards the door again. There is a girl playing with me while testing and finding bugs. Where can I find such a good thing? Chapter 174. Pyramids, squares, transport ships, small towns, deserts. After playing several classic FPS battle maps and testing all the guns, Remy took Luna to another larger room. To be precise, it is a piece of space. This place is huge, with mountains, water, forests, and all kinds of strange buildings that are not found in the magical world. A traceless extension spell had been cast here, and magic had been cast on the sky to make it look like the real sky, but in fact this place was still underground. The scenery here is unique, but why build such a place? It's so big, even everyone in the magical world can live here, right? Luna asked puzzledly. This is an amusement park, Remy replied. Amusement park? Right. Remy nodded and pointed to a nearby building. The rooms in the front are used for team games, and this is where the elimination rounds will be held. After the game starts, these buildings will randomly contain various firearms, accessories, bullets, and other supplies that are useful on the battlefield. Players will start the game by boarding a plane that flies across the entire island. Each player will be provided with a flying broom that can be used for a limited time of 3 minutes. During the flight across the island, players can use the flying broom to leave the plane and land on the island at any time. After landing on the island, players can obtain guns from these buildings, fight against other players and eliminate others. When all others are eliminated, the survivor will be the only winner. Remy briefly introduced the rules of the game to Luna, who listened carefully but became even more confused after hearing it. This place is so big. If I just find a random place to hide, how can others find me? If they can't find me, won't this game continue forever? Luna asked. No, I'm prepared. Remy shook his head confidently and pulled a tablet out of his pocket. You see, the outermost part of the island is surrounded by the Kuroshio. The safe zone is within this white dividing line. As time goes by, the safe zone will become smaller and smaller, and the Kuroshio will gradually cover the island. People in the Kuroshio will continue to be harmed and eventually eliminated. The range of the next safe zone is not fixed, but is randomly refreshed within the range of the previous safe zone, so no one can hide in one place forever. Everyone will eventually be driven together by the black tide and engage in a fierce battle to determine the winner. Luna suddenly realized, it sounds interesting. Is this game a single-player game? It can be played by 1 person, 2 people, or 5 people. I originally wanted to design it as a 4-person team mode, but considering that the dormitories in our school are all 5-person rooms, I changed it to a 5-person team mode. Remy continued to introduce, each round has 100 people. The individual battle ends when all other people are eliminated, and the team battle ends when other teams are eliminated. Oh, I forgot to mention that during the game, Voldemort will be randomly dropped into the safe zone by plane. If you kill Voldemort with weapons, you will get the best weapons and armor. Remy said. Luna was stunned. Voldemort. It's just a fake, but he can attack, and his attack power is very high. Unless you have a full set of level 3 armor, you will be eliminated if you are touched by him. But his attack range is not long, and he is not very durable. You can use a sniper rifle to kill him remotely. Remy smiled and said, it can also be regarded as a chance for those who have been scared by the stories of Voldemort since childhood to practice their courage. I see. What can we get after killing Voldemort? Luna asked thoughtfully after fixing her hair. Level 5 bulletproof helmets, Level 5 bulletproof vests, 16x scopes that can automatically assist aiming, invisibility cloaks that can hide the body but not the gun, Barrett sniper rifles that can blow up level 3 armor or level 3 helmets with one shot, Gatling guns with infinite bullets at super fast firing rates, nearly invincible bulletproof vehicles, portable anti-tank guns with a 50-meter explosion radius, defensive artifact-triggered mines, and so on and so forth. These are all equipment with superb attributes. It can be said that unless there is a group fight or the difference in skill is really outrageous, the only people who can defeat the person who has obtained these super equipment are those who have also obtained super equipment. Remy took the tablet and introduced it to Luna. While introducing it he called up the properties of the equipment and showed them to her so that she could have a clearer understanding. After reading the properties and evaluations of these super equipment, and then looking at the introductions of other ordinary equipment, Luna immediately came to a conclusion. I feel like you are not giving everyone a chance to test their courage, but guiding them to hunt down Voldemort, Luna said. How could that be? Remy chuckled, I am only guiding you to be brave enough to shoot Voldemort from a distance of 800 miles. If you chase after Voldemort, he will kill you instantly. Guns, are they really useful against Voldemort? Luna asked. It's useful. Ordinary firearms can cause damage to him, not to mention magic firearms. I mean real magic firearms, not those toy guns you just played with. Remy said. I see. I understand. Luna nodded, her bright eyes staring at Remy, and she said seriously, Remy, you are awesome. This compliment is not so easy to accept. After 2 seconds of silence, Remy came back to his senses and quickly turned his head to reflect on his thoughts. As a good young man, you must never let your thoughts go astray. The island is almost finished. Do you want me to take you to familiarize you with the terrain first? Remy asked, changing the subject. Luna thought about it for a while and shook her head. No, since it's an amusement park, it would be more fun for everyone to play together after it officially opens. Okay, do you want to go shopping some more? Or go back to the dorm now? Remy asked. It must be quite late now, right? As she spoke, Luna yawned and turned to look at the building next to her. Is there a bed in here? Luna asked. Is there a bed in there? Of course, yes. Even if it hadn't before, it had to have it when Luna asked the question. Yes, we have all the furniture and beds you could ever need, even the luxurious configuration of a presidential suite in a 5-star hotel, said Remy. Can I stay here for one night? Going back to the dormitory now will disturb them. Luna asked. Certainly. Nodding vigorously, Remy took Luna into the building next door and let Luna choose a room. When they opened the door, the room was empty. But when they entered the room, as Remy waved his hand, the sofa, carpet, coffee table, double bed, curtains, dining table, every piece of furniture appeared. Chapter 175. Luna possesses a magical power. Looking at her is like looking at the bright moonlight. It makes people calm down unconsciously, and all the worries and sorrows in their hearts disappear. Coming out of 2 rooms at the same time, the two smiled at each other. Go wash up first, I'll make a pot of tea. Good. Everyone was busy with their own things and took turns washing up. When Remy finished washing up, Luna had already poured 2 cups of tea for him. After drinking a cup of Remington tea, Remy took Luna away from the island and returned to Hogwarts Castle for breakfast, as naturally as if it was supposed to be so. In the following time, Remy's life became monotonous and regular again. Except for taking some time to accompany Luna every day, the rest of his time was almost spent on improving the construction of the island and arguing with Principal Dumbledore. Remy submitted a plan for a new activity, but this time it was full of difficulties. Principal Dumbledore made many suggestions for rectification of his plan, even denying this activity from the root. Principal Dumbledore thinks that team confrontation games are acceptable, but the setting of a battle royale game where all the players are chased together by the Black Tide and then kill each other is very negative and will teach children bad lessons. No matter how hard Remy tried, he couldn't convince Headmaster Dumbledore to accept it. Remy had no choice but to rack his brains to make changes to the game content without changing the gameplay. Since we can't kill each other, it's okay to save each other, right? So Remy changed the names of the game background and game props. The new game background story is, affected by the Black Tide, the Dark Lord plants black demon eggs in the bodies of all players. When the player is in the Black Tide, the black demon eggs will continuously absorb the power of the Black Tide, and eventually hatch into black demons to kill the player's consciousness and occupy the player's body. After making up this story, Remy renamed the guns into purifiers, the medicines into suppressants, and the protective gear into suppression helmets and suppression clothing. The purifier cannot be used on himself due to some special reasons that Remy has not yet figured out, so players can only use the purifier to help other players purify the black magic eggs in their bodies. Inhibitors can be used to suppress the hatching speed of black magic eggs. Suppression armor can also inhibit the hatching speed of black magic eggs. With this rhetoric, the game is no longer about killing each other but about saving each other. But there are many bugs in this argument. For example, if they are saving each other, why do they need to avoid each other after meeting? Why do they need to wear suppressant armor to effect treatment? Why do they need to use suppressants in the safe zone? When Principal Dumbledore asked these questions, Remy explained that because they were saving each other, theoretically there would be only one person left in the end, and each player was a selfless hero. They all wanted to sacrifice their own lives to save others. This time, the game not only became green, but also its purpose was elevated rapidly, from a coal mine at the bottom of the 18 levels of hell to as high as 3 or 4 floors. Headmaster Dumbledore expressed his reluctant acceptance of Remy's new story, and after haggling over the details for a while, he signed his frighteningly long name on Remy's plan with a wave of his hand. After the project was officially approved, Remy worked overtime to perfect the site layout. This is not difficult for Remy now. He has mastered the art of transfiguration, and it is a basic art that allows him to transform objects at will. In theory, All transfiguration techniques are developed from basic transfiguration techniques. Those transfiguration techniques that can only change into a fixed shape are easier to master than basic transfiguration techniques and also save more magic power. But what Remy lacks the least is magic. Remy randomly stacks the stone blocks excavated before together and uses basic transfiguration to instantly turn them into a house or a small hill. The infrastructure speed is max. Of course, if the details need to be designed, the construction speed will definitely be slowed down a lot. But it was only slow relative to the speed that did not require details. In fact, Remy completed the editing of the map after a month, and then spent another half a month repairing and renaming various props on the terminal. After everything was ready, Remy wanted to mobilize the students of Hufflepuff College again to help with publicity and warm-up, but unexpectedly, Casa, the female student union president of Ravenclaw College, found Remy first and expressed her hope to obtain the naming rights for this event. Remy, I heard from Luna about the new event you are planning to hold. Our Ravenclaw Academy can help. Casa said. Hear Luna say that? No wonder, I thought you knew prophecy. Remy said, but you should know the general content of this event, right? This event has little to do with intelligence, it's all about confrontation, which doesn't quite fit in with Ravenclaw Academy. Keisha smiled slightly and pushed her glasses. The students of Ravenclaw Academy are not just good at studying. You should know this, right? You were also a student of Ravenclaw Academy last year. I don't really care which house's name is added to the competition, but are you sure that the students of Ravenclaw Academy would be willing to name their names in such an event? Remy asked. I can't think of any reason why they refused. Kessa shook her head and suddenly sighed. For many years, Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry has always been a competition between Gryffindor and Slytherin for first and second place, Ravenclaw has always been third, and Hufflepuff has always been fourth. In the first half of the year, Hufflepuff became famous because of your activities. You certainly don't know how jealous the students of Ravenclaw felt at that time. Many people even complained about why you didn't hold any activities when you were in Ravenclaw last year. Okay, it's my fault. I'll leave the promotion of this event to you guys, said Remy. Okay, it's a deal. Kaisa stood up and stretched out her hand to Remy. Please organize the content of the event and give it to me. I will help you design a perfect promotional plan based on the content of the event. Okay, I'm aware of the creative ability of Ravenclaw Academy. You have to draw the flyers and the like for me more beautifully. Remy said, holding Cassaden's hand. Don't worry, Ravenclaw Academy has no shortage of artists. Not only will they draw beautiful pictures for you, but the writing will also definitely satisfy you, said Casa. After receiving Cassa's confident reply, Remy immediately handed the plan for Principal Dumbledore to Casa. Casa took a look at it and immediately gave Remy a thumbs up. Great. It's a pity that you left Ravenclaw Academy. Do you want to come back? I can arrange a separate dormitory for you, Casa said. A remote dormitory? It would be so boring for me to live alone there. Will you come and take care of me, senior? Remy asked with a smile. Kaisa was obviously stunned, then she pushed her glasses with a smile. Of course the senior sister will take care of the junior brother. After saying that, Casa slightly extended her tongue and licked her lips, her eyes full of meaning. Oh my god! Sure enough, the girl with glasses is the most. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.